But you didn't have to cut me off. Woo! What is going on, you guys? It is Dollar Cost Crypto here with the Rational Mail. Rolo Tomasi, Swallow Tomasi, man.
Yes, I have arrived in Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas, Sin City. Thank you very much. Yes.
Someone just called me Mexican Philip.
Mexican Philip? Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Should I wear glasses? Should I wear these the whole time? Maybe I will.
The Black Phillip Show. No.
Oh man, you know, I got to make sure I wear my my off whites for tomorrow or for Friday's.
For Friday's stream, yeah.
Friday's stream, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey,
we've had a crazy ass schedule. I know you were supposed to have a lot of streams lined up, and they just some fell through.
You know, I'll tell you what's funny is everything I expected to do this week is like everybody like, oh, sorry, we couldn't get there, couldn't make it, couldn't do this. I'm at a Formula One race right now. Okay, I guess I'm not doing what I thought I was going to be doing. I drove all the way from Reno, Nevada down to Las Vegas yesterday. It took me 7 hours.
Yeah.
To get to I-15, and then from I-15 to where my hotel is, it took me an hour to get through the rush hour traffic there. Mm-hmm. So it actually took me 8 hours to get here.
8 hours. With an hour.
I thought I was doing so good. Yep.
No, I'm glad you didn't drive through the night and stuff. It is a little like.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we were saying. It's a little like if you know where you're going, it's fine. But you know, you never want to get stuck out there in the middle.
Oh, I mean, I've made the drive like dozens of times, but it's like, I don't like to drive. I don't want to be driving across the Nevada desert like at night. Right. You know, if I don't have to. So. A whole lot of nothing out there. If you ever want to feel small.
Oh shoot.
What?
Oh, good.
Are we still up? Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Don't go away.
Oh no, we got rugged.
Don't go away. We're right here.
We got rugged. No.
Okay.
No. But you know, one thing that I kind of wanted to bring up with you and stuff. We'll have the stream back up in 1 second. You guys can still hear us anyway. But
yeah.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about red pill anger.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of what's kind of been going on in the crypto space a little bit, and obviously I don't know. Do you want to explain red pill anger a little bit in terms of when it comes to the actual red pill?
Okay. So in my sphere of influence,
you guys,
yeah.
There's no stream.
Oh, we have nothing. Oh no. I think they can still hear us.
Can you hear us? Type 1. Type 1 if you can hear us.
Can you guys hear us? The video rug. Yes, you got rugged.
Type 1.
Oh,
if
they
you
can hear us. Yeah, they can hear us.
They can hear us. Oh, okay, cool.
Good. All right, well, continue. All right, so
We were like, fuck these guys. I hate
while
everybody.
Travis and crew here get this thing taken care of. Yeah. Anyways, so when we talk about red pill rage, I mean, you probably have heard this before.
Yeah.
Usually what it is it's when guys kind of, I hate to even use this analogy. When they take the red pill, when they get red pilled, bruh. By the way, red pill is not a verb, so let's just
Right.
let's just
I'm red pilling, bro.
I'm red pilling you right now. Shut up. No, I mean when guys realize that the way that they used to think about things is not the reality. Like I refer to it this way: is there's an old set of rules. There's the rule set that you learn when you're young and you're growing up, and maybe you're, I don't know, from the time you're old enough to understand like pop culture and your dad and your mom and blah blah blah, and church and in school and yada yada, and then you get to a point. Most guys, I mean, this is usually the progression. Most guys will get to the point where they're oh, there we are.
Yeah.
We are back. Good. We'll get to the point where they realize that nobody else is playing by that rule set anymore. And I wrote an essay about this. It's called The Old Set of Rules, or the old set of books, I think is what it was. It's in, if you want to read about it, it's actually in my second book. But it's the idea that if you want an analogy for the quote unquote red pill, it's this understanding that there's this one, like people are playing by this one rule set,
Right.
until you have it like smack you in the face, until reality smacks you in the face, and then you realize that nobody's playing by that rule set, even though you thought and you expected everybody to play by those rules. And so the new set of books, the new set of rules is really the red pill, right? It's like, okay, here's what's really going on, and here's the rules, and here's the setup that everybody is actually playing by. So what happens is when you make that transition, you go through what I call the 5 stages of unplugging, okay? All of those are synonymous or like analogous parallels to the 5 stages of grief, right? You know, it's like denial, anger, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
There's this, I forget all of them off the top of my head. But
Haggling.
so, yeah, exactly. Negotiation is one of them. Yes, you're right. So there's, of course, the second one is anger. Right. That is a natural progression, I think, for most guys who are sort of coming out of the old way of thinking about things into the new way. And so what happens, of course, is everybody sees all these very angry incels or these very angry guys. Those red pill guys are so angry, or they'll throw it at me all the time. They'll say, Rollo what he says is the truth, but it's don't let yourself get too angry and jaded and cynical and pessimistic when you listen to his stuff. And it's like, that's not what it's about. Because I always say that, you know, the red pill doesn't exist so that you will hate women. It exists so you won't hate women for what they can never be to you.
What they actually are.
That never be to you part is where that's what I call the abyss, which is you kind of got to cross over from like the idea that all the stuff that you used to believe, I mean, all like your personality and everything you have sort of emotionally and really intellectually invested yourself in for so long, is not really the way that it's not the rule set that other people are playing by. And so when you get to that point, you get really angry. It's not that those guys are angry at women per se. And I'm not saying that they don't get that way. They can, okay? But like in the initial, phase of anger for the 5 stages of unplugging, what happens is that anger is not directed at women, it's directed at themselves. And I don't mean that like, ooh, new agey bullshit. What I mean is like, it's directed at themselves for having believed in all this horseshit for so long. And they go, oh my God. It's like building a RPG character and you maxed out all the wrong stats. Like you wanted to be a tank and you're not a tank, you're actually something else. Or you like screwed yourself up because you believe that the old rules were what everybody was playing by, and it's actually not. And so that anger doesn't stem from anger at women. It's from themselves for having believed in this stuff for so long, and nobody likes to feel stupid.
Yeah.
Right? So that's
so is it like the old set of rules? Well, like, because it takes 2 to tango, right? And it is sort of the game theory way, where if you're playing one way, it's sort of, if you're playing one way but they're not following the rules, then basically you're essentially going to be the dope and the loser in the situation and be taken advantage of. And that's what people are mad about, is that there's kind of like a cost to it, where like they spend so much time and energy playing the old game when everyone's already playing the new game, that they're super behind and they feel like they've lost something. Basically. Is that like, because when I think of the red pill anger, I really think that, it's just guys just like, they're like super pissy, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is that, but it's it's realizing, like, I think when you're kind of blue-pilled and you're kind of naive and you're comfortable in this, like, the comforting fiction, right? That's what sort of what it comes down to, is like, it's this belief that if I do these things, I will be rewarded. If I work hard, if I do this way, if I carry her books home from school, if I defer to her, if I'm supportive, if we're equal partners, if we're this, if we're that, right? All the stuff that you've learned from the time you were like probably 5 years old to, God knows, 25, wherever you're at right now, or maybe 35. The older you get, the harder it is to sort of unplug yourself and to accept that. And I think that really the guys who are, like, say, in their 30s or 40s, that's tough. I talk to guys who are in their 60s and 70s, and they're like, my entire life has been spent believing that the old set of rules has been the rule set that everybody is playing by. Yeah. So it's one thing to be like, it's what I call getting zeroed out, right? So it's one thing to be like 25 and go, oh my God, I can't believe this is this real? Like, you're negotiating and there's disbelief and there's denial and there's anger and everything else. And then later on it becomes acceptance. And then from there you can go, oh, okay. You have two choices at that point. You can get really jaded about it and just go become a black pill, spurg cow doomer, whatever. And then, or else you can say, you know what? Now that I know the rules, I am equipped and I'm armed with this knowledge. This is actually the game everybody's playing. So now I realize I'm at zero, but I'm going to rebuild myself now that I have accurate information, and now I can actually do something in this new paradigm. And I think that's really, like, when people ask me, how do I get over red pill rage? That's the first thing I tell them. I said, you have to understand, you have to accept and sort of wrap your head around this, is that you have more opportunity and more advantage in a red pill paradigm than you did in your blue pill, days. So don't try to reinsert yourself back into the matrix cipher. Go and don't think that your blue pill, you can use this red pill knowledge to achieve your blue pill dreams.
How do I get my girlfriend back?
Exactly.
The classic.
You have to go and rebuild yourself and remake yourself in that new paradigm. And that's like that's what I call crossing the abyss. And that's really hard for guys, especially when they're in that anger phase.
So for you guys to know that, like, Rollo's speaking the truth here, you can, after the stream, go on YouTube and search up how to get my girlfriend back, and look at the amount of views you have on those videos. It's a little ridiculous. I mean, it's the classic, like, I'm trying to get my girlfriend back. How do I get her to love me? How do I get her back? She cheated on me. What do I do? This is usually how guys kind of get red pilled, which is like they get kind of punched in the face, basically. Like the old, like, they don't, like, for a long time people played the game for a long time the way they were taught, and nothing hits them hard enough for it to break, and at some point the dam breaks, and then they're kind of disillusioned and just kind of looking for answers. And like, it happened to me, it happened to a lot of other people as well.
So to make this a little bit more let's say relatable to the crypto audience here, it's almost as if I think, and I've been asked this in the past, is like, what do you think about money now that you didn't believe before? And I think there's like different ways, I think, that we can sort of like let go of the old set of rules, that we have to sort of accept this new set of rules that everybody is sort of playing by right now. And I have a real tough time answering that question, because it was sort of this progressive transition, right? It was sort of like incremental. So it's not like I just suddenly woke up one day and go, you know what? I'm thinking completely different about money today. It didn't happen that way. So it's like, as you become more prosperous, as you become more invested in things, as like for instance, in like I know we're both we're both hexicans now, right?
Sir. So and Hexa is up right now. Phew.
Yeah, and so like what's interesting to me, and I mentioned this to Myron and Fresh back in the day, is like who, by the way, just celebrated 2 years of the podcast today. Big ups to you guys. But like, when I see all these guys who are like these freshly minted millionaires, and by the way, I read some article about how it was, I think it was 2021, there was like the most millionaires created in that year than any other year in the United States. Was it like 2.5 million new millionaires were made at that time? Were minted, yeah.
Minted from,
pun intended.
From equities, starting businesses, real estate, and crypto. Yep. So everything.
So what does that say about the guy? Like almost instantaneously, within a year or within 18 months or whatever, guys go from their $1 a day or their work a day hourly, punch in, punch out wages to being suddenly they're driving McLarens, right? And again, you risk the risk is, of course, too much, too young, too fast, and blowing it up and not knowing what you're going to do, because fast money doesn't teach you any of the lessons that slow money teaches you.
Right.
So when I look at that, I kind of see parallels between sort of not necessarily so much the red pill rage, but like getting zeroed out, because you used to be zeroed out. There was the old set of rules that you believed about money, and now you have made money in crypto. Suddenly you're making a good chunk of change, and now you've gone from that old set of rules, and you realize that through having this money, that there's a new set of rules right here, and you better be able to master them really, really quickly. And so I think there's almost a I want to say a red pill rage, but it's certainly a crypto rage, or money pill rage.
I just been calling it crypto red. I just been calling it red pill rage in crypto, portions of it are done because they've been so, because two people. I mean, most people come from like two buckets. Basically, they had a lot of money growing up, or they didn't have any at all. Right. So there's actually kind of a blue pill and a red pill dynamic there already, because there's people that are born into wealth, so they already expect it, and they already have they have the type of parents that would talk to them about money differently, right? And that's a certain sort of level of like financial education.
Right.
And then you have now. That's awesome in terms of the connections, but then you have people who aren't born with any money that have to get it from the dirt, but then have like willpower and drive.
The come-ups,
the come-ups and stuff like that. And like most I mean, like, what was it? Like, I think 92% of all millionaires in the United States were first-time millionaires. It was not inherited at all. So 92% of all, I mean, like my money too. I mean, I had no inheritances, so it was all worked from.
Yeah, I know your backstory. We talk. We talk.
Yeah, we talk.
We talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this actually a shout out to what's his name, Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey actually said this, and this was actually Dave Ramsey actually has some really good quotable sort of like episodes and stuff in terms of statistics and stats and stuff. But of course, he pushes it towards. He's on the old school blue pill rules about money, about like debt and everything, right? Now most debt is bad, but there is uses for it.
Oh yeah,
it's like
it's how you get rich. Is good debt, basically.
And even he concedes that, like, it's okay to have debt for a house. When he says all debts were, because the original
old school, it's old set of rules, man, is what that is. And and of course guys like Jason Hartman or Robert Kiyosaki. Hell, I mean Ken McElroy would laugh at that. They're like, no, I mean, dude, that's how you get wealthy, is you use debt, good debt, to your advantage. That's how and remember. Guys like Kiyosaki and Jason Hartman and I think probably Ken McElroy as well, they made their millions long before there was anything there wasn't even an internet, man. There was no social media. There was no crypto, no nothing like that. So they figured, to their credit, they figured this shit out like way back in the day. And and of course, what I would ask guys like guys who have like in the money sphere, like a Kiyosaki or whatever. By the way, I'm going to get Kiyosaki here for you at some point. We've already talked about it. So sooner or later, we will get Robert Kiyosaki in the studio and talk about money. We're not going to talk about red pill stuff, but we will get Robert in here at some point. But like what I would like to ask Robert, and I think I know how he would answer this, but like I would like to ask him, like, as far as his old way of thinking about money. If you've ever read like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he always talks about my poor dad and my rich dad, right? Yeah. And so that, to me, that's almost like analogous to like the old set of rules versus the new set of rules. And he always said, I couldn't find any kind of education on how, like, when are we going to take classes on how to make money? Like he was in high school. He always, over and over and over, he repeats this, but like anybody has read it. But it's true though. Yeah, it is. It's very much true. And so it's like he wanted to learn how to make money. He wanted to learn how, like, okay, where's the classes? And like, well, you can go to business school. And that's not what he wanted. He wanted, how does money work? How does it function? And again, it was, I think, going from the old dad, the old poor dad model to the new rich dad model.
Right.
And now he did that back in like the book has been out since what, 96, 97?
I mean, it was it was the first financial book I ever read.
Yeah. And by the way, a lot of people said that to me when I first started working with Robert. They're like,
middle school book fair.
Yeah. I mean, and it's still, I think from a principle standpoint, I think it's still very much valid.
Yes.
But I think also it speaks to what we're talking about today, is like there's this idea that this is the way things should work, right? My dad, I think I mentioned this before when we first did your show here, when I was here with O'Neill that one time. Yep. My father was like, he comes from the old, God rest his soul, but he came from the old school, man. He was like, you go, you work out. I think my dad worked at a grand total of 3 places in the time that he was alive.
Yeah.
And he always worked in administration. He was a vice president of a hospital for a while. And he always was, had the same problems at every one of these hospitals and stuff. And he would go to work, and he'd get up in the morning, go to work, drive, make his commute, go put in an honest day's work, get an honest day's pay, come back. And he was very well paid for what he did. But, to update him, like the thing is I think what a lot of people think is that they get stuck in this idea that it's always going to be the same. Like this is just how you do it. You go and you get a pension, and then you go to school, you go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, to get a degree, then you use that degree so you can go get a good job. You have the good job, you make a lot of money, you get a pension for it, you get a retirement, whatever it is, you marry your wife, you put out 2 kids, squeeze out a couple of kids, and then at 65, then you can retire. Hopefully you did everything the right way, and then you can go retire in the villages or something in Florida and play golf until you die. Right? Yeah. That's like the old school way of thinking about it. That does not exist and has not existed for really, I would say probably since like the late 70s, if we're going to be honest. For the people that it does exist for, they're usually very, very wealthy. Like they can afford to live in. I don't know about you, but I know exactly how much it costs for like guys to retire if you know what the villages are in Florida. So there's this, I think, this idea that. This old school idea, the old guard, the old way of thinking about things, like I'm going to make sure that I get my money's worth out of this employee right here, and keep an eye on him and track his every move and everything else to make sure that the productivity is up, so there's that understanding, and the employee is the same way. It's like, well, this is what I have to do because the boss is watching. I got a supervisor, blah blah blah. And so there's that's like, to me, that's kind of like the old set of rules. Yeah. When it comes to money. And I think that I would say probably since about like 2000, there's more ways to make money online in a worldwide globalized economy right now in ways we couldn't have dreamed of when my dad was working a workaday job and was earning a pension. Now,
I mean, there's just so many in terms of like, because like originally you asked me basically what's like the red pill, like what is like what are people so mad about in terms of just learning about money initially. Was one is the first one that really got me like crazy was basically how college was mostly bullshit for the most part. I mean, obviously if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that.
I have mixed feelings about that, but like I understand the logic behind that for sure.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of it is driven by the person. Because like you could have a person that has a really nice degree and stuff, but they don't really apply themselves as well. And then there's because there's people who've gotten like psych degrees and actually done a lot of things in their life. But it's also based on the character, because there's tons of people who are really successful who've basically went down the wrong path in terms of college, but still ended up very successful later on because they were very driven. And so portion of it is a blame on the colleges. Now they are predatory on students and stuff. And
it's a business. It's a franchise.
And I had this huge guilt for so many years, like up until maybe like 24, where I felt like I made the mistake of like, I felt like a dumbass because all my friends went to college. I didn't. I decided not to go to college. I even was pretending to go to community college because I was like, oh, I'm going to community college for 2 years and then I'll transfer over to a big school and stuff like that. And when I knew that wasn't true at all. I was just doing the motions just to get my parents off my back.
Yeah, because that's what's expected of you.
Right.
Because your parents they believe in the old set of books or old rule set. My mom used to give me grief about that too, back when she was alive, because she was like, "Why do you move from job to job to job so much?" I'm like, "Because that's the gig economy. That's what we have to do." Like, oh, you don't own a house. Well, I did, but now I'm renting because it's just more economical and more logistically. It's like most people rent a place these days. That's why we've gone from the ownership society to the renter society, and we've done that in less than 20 years. 20 years. So,
and now the World Economic Forum wants you to own nothing and be happy.
And live in a pod and eat crickets and whatever else.
I think we're heading in the wrong direction.
I know. I'm not sure this is a step in the right direction. Yeah, but but again, it's this. I mentioned this in my fourth book, Religion, in the introduction, because I was outlining, sort of the red pill perspective on religions, but also I was saying, what we're seeing right now is this, I'll say revolution, but like for lack of a better word, a revolution in like information. Yeah. So
the revolution's being televised on YouTube.
I made this observation in my book in the introduction of it, that the Gutenberg press back in 1450 or 1480 or something like that revolutionized information dissemination, right?
For sure.
So what happens is in Western Europe, illiteracy rates go up. That's how you got the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther and all that. Because of course the first thing they do is print the Bible, right? And then the lay person can now read the Bible and go, hey, the Catholic Church is like, they're
full of shit.
That's not in here, right? And so I mean, to think about just that one invention, the Gutenberg movable type and press and everything. Now, of course, everybody printed off other things afterwards. After that, stories, and then of course pamphlets and newspapers and everything else. But just the dissemination of information was enough to start wars, and it was enough to cause a schism in the church. And it was, I mean, you think about that's really what
that
it
was the
down
church
to.
Top.
Yeah,
that was the top of the church power.
Exactly, it was because they had a lock on everything because nobody could read.
So you know how we joked around before about like these good-looking youth pastors that are banging all the chicks, pretending like
What is it with that hairstyle, by the way? I saw enough. Like, okay, and okay. Here's the Ruslan hate. Like that poodle hair thing.
Yeah.
And,
the half a Jufro.
I can't just point at him because I saw another dude who's trying to do the same kind of grift that he is, like a youth pastor guy.
Yeah.
And he has the same haircut. I'm like, is this like a thing?
I think it's a thing, man.
Is this a thing? I was like, wow.
Go with Christ, bro.
So, anyways, what my comparison, my allegory, anyways. Was that the internet and social media is the new Gutenberg press.
Yeah.
Only it's not just in Western Europe, it's worldwide now. So everybody has the ability, I think, across the globe to go from the old set of rules to the new set of rules because they have Google, because they have the internet, because they have a cell phone, because we are the media right now. Anyone with a cell phone is the media right now. If you go and you think about in the old days, it used to be like they would send like a film crew out to go say, oh, here's the disaster, or here's the horrible, hurricane or something like that.
Channel 3 News.
Now what they do is they just scrape the internet and they go, can we use your footage on the 6 o'clock news because it's just free content. And by the way, if that ever happens, say, yeah, for $1,000 you can. Show me some cash here because they do have a budget for that kind of thing. But that's what I'm saying is like everybody is the media now. Everybody has access to information. Like I was going to say, I mentioned this on my last stream, is that I'm not anything special when it comes to sort of aggregating data. It's just I have a keen interest in certain things. Anybody can go get it. Like I was criticized the other day. I think oh well, you don't. The difference between you and like Dr. David Buss is like, your book's like Dr. Seuss and his book is like Shakespeare or something like that. I'm like, dude. I quote Dr. David Buss on pretty much, on a lot of my stuff. I know I quoted him in the 4th book, right? And so I'm like, I'm still using him as a resource, but because I don't have a DR in front of my name, I'm not Dr. Rollo Tomasi, right? So again, and that's old school, right? So it's like this understanding, like, well, he's got a doctorate, so therefore he must know something that you don't know. It's like, he's
higher in the hierarchy.
I tap into his data as well as Dr. Marty Hazelton, as Dr. Hector Garcia, all kinds of other people too. So, and that's the beauty of it, is if you have a keen interest in it, you're good with you can articulate things. And it doesn't have to be the red pill. It could be crypto. It could be money. It could be fitness. It could be pretty much anything. Well, certainly I'm thinking manosphere side of things, but it could be sports, man. It could be anything.
Anything that anything you're obsessed about, you could turn around and become pretty much a leading figure in that space because you're just searching and sifting through all that information and putting it in, because people have a lot like this. Now we have a problem of, like, in the past we had an information problem where we have too little information hitting us. Now we have an information problem of we have too much information hitting us.
Yeah.
So now we're looking for the best distillers.
I'm at a point right now, thanks to you, that I definitely came into a different understanding of money. Probably around like 2019. Once I had 3 books out and I'm like, okay, I can do this full time if I wanted to. I still was, had one foot in my wine and spirit stuff, but then I had another foot in like being Rollo Tomasi, right? And that the real transition didn't happen until 2020. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this full time. But my understanding of money really fundamentally changed at that point, because now I'm like, okay, what's important to me. Like, what do I want to do with this? Do I want to sit on top of my cash, or do I want to actually like reinvest this into something? Do I want to be a good investor of my talent? You know, like in the Bible, they say, you know, you have 5 talents, you invest the talents and kind of thing like that. So like, what do I want to do with the talents that I have, and how can I make those grow, and how can I make those? And so it put me into a much different understanding of money. Whereas money prior to this, when I was in the gig economy and I was doing what I was doing prior, it was, okay, I need money to pay the bills. I need money to pay for the vacation. I need money to take the dogs to the vet. You know, I was like, money was just something that I had to get to because the function demanded that I needed this money. Now I'm like, okay, what do I want to, like, if you have like I said,
you have freedom of choice.
Well, I think of it as a battery, like currency, like an electrical current. I know money is a currency, right? Yeah. But I think of it as like money as an energy, or like, and I don't mean like energy. I mean like an electricity. That's what I call electricity, a current, right? Yeah. And so what are you going to use that electricity for? So I look at it as if I got a battery now. What do I want to use the electricity that's in that battery to? Do I want to make a light? Do I want to make a fan? Do I want to, whatever I want to do with it? And so I think of it in terms of like, what do I want to focus on? Like, what engine do I want to power with that battery kind of thing? So that's how I kind of look at it. But it's there was a transition part right there where I'm like, oh shit, am I gonna have enough money to pay my bills? And then it took a while for me to sort of change my mind about like money, because I used to think of it in terms of I say abundance, like scarcity versus abundance, right? Yep. And I think that when you do that, like I can understand why people who have like 9-to-5 jobs and they hear like Dave Ramsey, or they hear you, or they hear even me. Like I'm not like, people think I'm not a millionaire, man. I mean, I make a good chunk of change, but I'm not a millionaire by any stretch of the definition. But like when they hear me talk about money, they go, "Oh, who are these rich guys talking shit?" Or like they read Rich Dad Poor Dad, they go, "Yeah, it's easy for you to say," kind of thing. And they can't, like, I hate to even use the term mindset, but they can't even really like, there's no frame of reference for them for like where you are at and them. So whatever you talk about money sounds like it's just like bullshit and woo-woo magical thinking, and dig down deep into that Tony Robbins well of confidence and stuff like that. And so to them, you might as well be speaking Chinese, because that's just not the language that they can speak at that point. And so I understand if there's like anger, if there's, I don't know,
there's a lot of miscommunication.
Ill will, you know, or there's just frustration. Maybe it's frustration is a better word for it. Because I would be the same way. Like even today, when I hear like guys who are financial gurus, I'm like, I get it now, but would I have got this like just 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? And I would have been like really pissed off. And I understand how like people like, you want to know like why like people in Antifa get pissed off at rich, you know, eat the rich, you know, kind of thing. It's you know, redistribute the wealth kind of thing. I understand where that mentality is, because those people don't have the same frame of reference as like a Robert Kiyosaki or people who actually have money. And so anything they say sounds like condescending to anybody who's in that set, that's working by the old set of rules.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what was it? The poor are hungry, give them cake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let them eat cake. Yeah. Marie Antoinette. Yeah. Right, exactly. Right. And they beheaded her. Right. Right. Yeah. They would love to behead, you know, these guys.
Yeah. It's. Yeah. I mean, there's like a lot of different red pills, right? I mean, in terms of that. So there's that, the college one, right? And college for the. I mean, a lot of people would probably agree. Most people are going to college to get a job, not to open a business. Yeah. It isn't like you're going to Wharton's business school, which is like one of the top. You know, it's pretty much is the top like business school in America, right? Or you're getting an MBA from like Harvard or something like that, where it's more implied that the professors there are actually pushing you towards actually creating a startup or a business, basically, or working as like a CFO, basically.
I went to community college while I was in my rock star 20s, right? That was like, I was just sort of like going along to get along. I knew I needed a degree. I had my talent was primarily in graphic design and art, fine art. I actually have a degree in fine art too. But so,
oh really? Oh sure.
Yeah, I have two degrees. I have a BFA and I've got a BA in behavioral psychology. So, cool. But I dual majored because of all of this craziness. But I didn't get my degree. I didn't even graduate until I was like 34. And so that's like kind of late. And when I went back to school, to finish my degree.
Yeah.
I was one of the older guys there, right? I mean, there was people older than me, but like here I am in my early 30s. Like I was 32, I think, or 33 or something when I went back to school. And so I'm in class sometimes, because I always had to take night classes. I would have whatever I could take. I was very strategic about whatever I could take. I'll take it when I can, because I was still working 40 hours a week at the clubs, at the casinos. And I was in a band at the same time. I had a daughter that was like probably like 3 or 4 years old at the time. I was also a husband, and I'm trying to
hustling.
I was hustling all the time, and I had to do. And by the way, that was back in the. I mean, we had the internet back then, but not like it is right now. So it's like you have to go to like the library and study
phone booking. Oh my god!
And so there was like it wasn't as advanced as it is right now. But I mean, my story is this: I can remember being in classes, and I'm sitting there. So here I am, 33, 34 years old, and I'm listening to guys who are 22 to 24 years old, and they're like, "What do I got to learn this shit for? I'm never going to use this in my, MBA." Like they're taking like humanities or something, because it's a capstone class. They had to take those things because it was required for their general ed kind of stuff. And I thought about it, and I go, you know what? I would have been just like that. At 22, I would have been just as like, oh, I'm never going to use this crap. But I'll tell you what, man, and not to hear Aaron Clary tell it, but I'm glad that I had the education I did when I did too, because we're talking about a time when it wasn't as wokesy as it. I mean, college has always been kind of liberal. Let's just be honest, but it wasn't like it wasn't like communist indoctrination, socialist indoctrination, whatever, like it is like right now.
You probably could appreciate what you're learning too.
Well, and so I heard Jedediah Bila and Destiny of all people talking about this today, and they're talking about colleges and everything, and you know what, we say this in the sphere all the time. Don't bother going to college, because you'll just have like all this student debt, and you're never going to use your degree. And I mean, Aaron Clary's got a book called Worthless, which by the way is like one of his, I think is probably his best book, but it basically breaks down like how people like it's
bullshit degrees,
and it's like colleges and universities have become diploma mills, right? That's the whole thing, is you got to get this piece of paper so you can get the job, and that's what everybody thinks. And so so what happens is we have this belief that the reason why you go to college in the first place is just so you can get a great job, right? That's the only reason you go to STEM field, that's it. And otherwise it's completely worthless. And I can understand. I have the same attitude towards education today that I did about marriage. Because when people say, Rollo, are you against marriage? Because you talk shit about marriage, blah, blah, blah. You say, you don't endorse marriage the way we do it now, right? Yeah. So I can't endorse like university, like education the way we do it now. But it used to be that a well-rounded education was its own reward. To be able to speak knowledgeably, at least somewhat knowledgeably, on a great variety of topics, that's really what education was about. So it wasn't necessarily about, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to learn these. I mean, you want to get a good job, don't get me wrong. But like, if that's the case, if it's all about getting the job, go to technical school. Why not just simply go and train for a job? Go learn to be a welder or electrician or whatever it is, rather than, I 100% agree with that. But the reason to go to a university, higher education, is not just to get a good job. It's also to be a well-rounded, educated person who can speak knowledgeably on a great many things, which unfortunately today I don't think is getting. I don't think at all is getting broadcast. Or I understand why people would like give me shit for that right now, because it's like, we're not actually educating people or indoctrinating people, and you would be right, but that's not how we used to do it.
Right. Now we have a $10 super chat from Crypto Coil, right? Ooh. Not being a jerk, Rollo. Just correcting the record that Marie Antoinette didn't say, "Let them eat cake." Yeah, we know.
Who was it? Catherine the Great? Oh, okay. Yeah. My bad. Really?
Yeah,
I guess that is.
Yeah,
was it Catherine the Great?
Yeah, it was fake. It was a fake quote. It was just a tribute to her because it made sense, because she was like lavish and being. She was like.
And you know what? And here's the thing: it's like, what were we just talking about? The Gutenberg press and the internet being like, is that really real? Cryptocoil, good on you, man. Because like you probably went and looked it up, or you probably knew it because you had like seen it at some point and brought it up.
So, sometimes the message of the story is more important than the actual like story.
Yeah,
like, it's the meaning behind it is really what we're trying to do.
I mean, it's the message behind the
madness.
The madness.
Yes. Like so I
don't necessarily think that. a university higher learning is necessarily a bad thing. I think that we have a different if you were to go back to like say turn of the century, or you go back to the 20s or the 30s or the 40s or 50s or whatever, people were going, to learn, a trade for sure, or to learn whatever their major was, of course. But it was also, universities were established so that people would be like, we didn't want dumbasses. That's why we used to have public education, because we want an educated population to some degree. To
some degree, enough, for the factories.
We used to, not anymore.
But have you heard the whole original story about college? And college was basically an IQ test.
Oh yeah.
To get so it's like I remember teachers telling me this even in high school back in the day, which I think they were already like telling me old information even then. But basically, you get into college, you were guaranteed $100,000 job, $100,000 like kind of job in any degree. What a bunch! Oh my! I cannot believe I had teachers telling that to my fucking face. Like basically, you get a bachelor's degree, Miguel. $100,000. You can basically get a job anywhere and get and that really what it was back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, because you had a large swath of the population that didn't have a college degree. So having any type of college degree kind of puts you like, no, this guy's pretty smart.
Yeah. I tell you what's here's another story. When I was working towards my degree, part of the general ed stuff, not even from like my major, I had to take what were called capstone classes. Like they are capstone classes. You also have a humanities requirement. So there's certain classes you have to take in order for you to get the units for your general ed, so that you could actually get a degree in whatever the hell it is you're specializing in, right? So as a result, like because I had that crazy schedule, like I was working 40 to sometimes 50 hours a week and all that other stuff, I had to take whatever I could that would like meet the most requirements.
Right.
So I remember I actually took women in literature as one of my because it was a gender studies requirement for the capstone requirement. Well, I didn't have to take that. It just happened to be the one that I could take because it fit my schedule. Okay. So it made that one course, Women in Literature, covered humanities, a capstone, and then there was something else I can't remember. Oh, maybe in English or something like that. So it covered like 3 requirements, and it was like a 3-unit or 4-unit class. I'm like, yeah, I can kill all these 3 birds with one stone. Women in lit. Yeah, okay, I think I can do
Women
that.
in lit.
I was one of 2 guys in that class, and the other dude, I was the only heterosexual in that class. So like when I was there, it was fascinating to me because I was doing posts on So Suave at the same time I was there.
Wait. So you were doing the So Suave stuff during that time?
While I was in college. Yeah, so okay. I'm having these conversations, and I would use like conversations that we would have, and I bring them up because they encourage discussion and everything, and I'm the only one that had any kind of pushback for the ladies and stuff. And it was fascinating because to me it's sort of like know your enemy, right? Understand like what the other side is saying, kind of thing. So when people say, oh well, Rollo, you don't know anything about feminism, no, dude, I know. Trust me, I took the classes. I've been there. I put my money where my mouth is. But here's the real interesting thing. So humanities, capstone, and like an English requirement or something like that. And then, diversity. That's what it was. There was a diversity requirement, right?
God.
So humanities, diversity, and a capstone requirement all in one class. The only other class that would satisfy those same 3 was Holocaust studies. That
shout out to the tribe.
And I will tell you what kills me is that so women in lit and that's in the university system, in their eyes, in their estimation, women in lit is on par with the Holocaust of World War II. Yeah. Really? I thought it didn't dawn on me until I was halfway through the class, and I go, man, the only thing that's comparable to this is Holocaust studies. That's what you got. That's what the university thinks. And that was like sort of my first inclination as to like what was going on in the university system at that time. Yeah. And I was like, damn. And by the way, so that was one education that I got. The other thing is I had another one, and I had to do another class that was similar to that. I think it was like humanities and like and a capstone class as well. The other one I took was Chinese history. So you understood from like dynastic China all the way up to Mao Zedong, and then up to where they're at right now. And again, it's one of those things like, well, why do I need to know this? I'm never going to need this in anything. I'm glad I took that class.
That one came in clutch.
Very, very glad that I took that class, because now I can speak knowledgeably about like, the People's Revolution in China during like what the 50s or 60s. and and the little red books and all the stuff that was going on at that time. And I was like, I'm glad I took that class. It paid off later on. At the time, you're like, oh my God, this is useless information. I'll do it. Give me the credit, right? But that's what I was talking about when I was saying about like university, to be able to speak knowledgeably on a great many topics. Like one of the reasons I'm able to do what I do is because I had that sort of breadth of understanding of a lot of different things. I took kind
of a forced studies, but it made you more well-rounded.
My focus of study in psychology was behaviorism, right? Because they didn't really offer evolutionary psychology, and not at UNR at that time. But I probably would have took it if they had it. But then, of course, now it's really super popular and everybody wants to study and you want to get a doctorate in it. But back then you didn't. But like because I was taking behaviorism, I took classes that I am very glad I took now. One of them was like based on memory, like the differences in different kinds of memory. And that applied to other things later on down the road when I was talking about evolutionary psychology as well. So I think there is like a good, well-rounded, a good education is its own reward, and it's what you do with it that it really counts. Like I have a BFA and I've got a BA in psych, right? Like for the most part, like Aaron Clary, if I was to go and I would say, hey Aaron, I enrolled in college and I'm going to get a BFA, I'm going to get a psych degree. He'd be like, vaya con Dios, man.
Vaya con Dios, wait.
See you later, man.
Madre.
Yeah, he would blow me off because it's a useless degree. I'll see you. Thank you for making my sandwich at Subway.
Subway.
Yeah, that's probably what he would say. But again, it's like, what do you do with it? How are you going to apply that actual, like, what are you going to school for? Do you have an actual artistic talent? Then maybe art is not a bad thing for you.
And this is why I appreciate the whole thing with Aaron Clary, because I was literally listening to Aaron Clary since like Bachelor Plat Economics, which I love that book. Obviously the equity stuff I think is trash personally, just because I don't like stocks anymore. But the way he's looking at it is in terms of like the blue pill of the back in the day, where basically kind of going back to the rich parents, poor parents, right? Like there's a need, we need to make sure that we maximize this time so we can make money. So we then because we're in this position where you don't got time to think, you got to work, you got to hustle. Where if you come from rich parents and if there's already a business there put for you, then being more well-rounded, it really helps out. And the same thing for street, like if you're like, I think most people that go into YouTube and stuff don't like, maybe just randomly got into those fields and then it really benefited them, right? Where like I think a history degree would be amazing, or just like learning about philosophy, that a philosophy degree maybe even 20 years from now is going to be pretty valuable, possibly. Just
but you have like, but currently you have two choices: teach or be a sandwich artist.
Be a sandwich artist. Yeah. So you have to create your job. So it is a sort of thing where you also there's sort of like it's mixing skills together, right? Where like there's so many good like history channels and stuff like where you could just, if you have a little animation, you have a little storytelling, you have this, you're mixing a lot of things in the pot, and you can be really successful on YouTube. And like if you even have a half decent like history what's called YouTube channel, you're getting 50 to 100,000 views on your videos.
Did you watch my show on Sunday with Hafiz?
No, I did not, sir.
Oh, hey, well, you're very familiar with the thumbnails on my.
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh yeah.
That doesn't come just like math. How does he do it? Yeah, well, it's because of course I've been working in graphic design and digital media for since I was born, right? But I'm also an art. People don't really understand that I'm also an artist. I actually am. Because I don't throw it out there. Like I'll play guitar for you occasionally, in the rehearsal studio on an Instagram live stream. But
Charlie, I mean, you almost say Charlie. But I mean, Rollo's a Renaissance man.
Well, I mean, I can do a lot of different things. I'm a jack of all trades, master of some. And so, like when people go, "Man, Rollo, you're so good!" Like, "Oh, this is the best, thumbnail ever." I did that one thumbnail of Andrew Tate nailed to the tree of woe. By the way, that wasn't the cross. And people are like, "Oh, this is blasphemous." I'm like, well, to who? Conan? Because that's where I got it from. Because it's from the movie Conan when they nail him they crucify him on the tree of woe, right?
Can you share the screen real quick?
So I threw that one out there, and then that one. That one, yes. See, that was, and I thought, of course, everyone's like, "Oh, this is blasphemous." I'm like, you really should probably go watch Conan the Barbarian from 1982, and then you'll get the joke, right? And then I did the most recent one was Hafiz crying on. He did an interview with with pearly things, and
Yeah.
and then there's this one part where he's like, he was like really kind of being emotional, not like really, he was just like kind of joking around. He's like, you know, faking it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's too good. That is absolutely too good. So I use it, and so that's like in my career, my illustrious career over the years, I was also a photo editor. So I had to like pick photos for like ad placements and everything else. And so I got really good at like telling a story with photos and images and illustrations and stuff like that. And I apply that now to my thumbnails.
It wasn't that just because of out of necessity originally, because you would create all the banners for the bands.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You want to know that? Oh, here's my story on my first enter into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
As you know, I was talking about my rock star 20s back in the days. This was like the late 80s, early 90s. Okay. And so there is no internet. Imagine a time and there is no internet and there is no, imagine a world with no digital media.
No, protect me.
Yes. So if you wanted to be in a band, and remember, like, you got to remember that when I was sort of in my come up days, it was like, that was the wind down right before the grunge scene and Nirvana like killed off everybody's, record deals. But that was like 93. So between like 88 to like, was that
the end of like Hairspray bands?
Yeah. I mean, there was this sort of last dying gasps of it, like right around 1990. But so anyways, the Hollywood metal scene at that time, the only way you could really advertise your band was with flyers, like handbills, leaflets, right? Yeah. And I can remember I was like, oh, this is great. I can do this for the band. So I was like in several different bands. And so I was the guy that was always tasked with doing the flyers, right? So I loved drawing the Metallica logo and Iron Maiden logo when I was in high school, right? So I'm like, I can do this. And so I would, like, whatever band I was in, I always was responsible for the logos. I was always responsible for the media kind of thing. And it turned out that I would do full on illustrations. I still have some of them around here. But I was doing these full-on illustrations, and like I noticed that when I was at the clubs and I was waiting in line or I was about to do a gig or something, I would see all these flyers just all over the sidewalk, because people would just grab a flyer and, hey, come see my band, we're really great, yeah, great, and they just toss it right, and unless you plastered onto a wall, a telephone pole or something like that, which of course the next week another guy puts his over yours. Yeah. So, but here's what I did. I'm like. So I looked at all this and I looked at the flyers and I go, these flyers are shit. Like, and so I looked, because they were just like typeset stuff, or like they were like really typeset stuff. And so I'm looking at this, I'm like, people don't know how to do this. So I want my bands to look the best they could, so people will hang on to the flyer, right? Yeah. Well, turns out that they did. They really liked what I was doing. It could be skulls and wings and teeth and dragons and shit like that, right?
Would you like blacken the whole page out?
I could. I mean, and some of them actually, yes. Or we would get black and white shots of the band, and then I would find some way I was actually doing paste up of our flyers. I took it to like the next degree, like nobody was doing. And so as a result, everybody was really into our flyers to the point where like some of these guys were like collecting my like comic
like
books
Pokemon
and stuff,
cards, like
right?
Blastoises.
Yeah. And so as a result, what happened was other people in other bands that we were like playing with at the time, like you might play Gazzari's and there's like 4 other bands there, and they see you're thinking, oh man, he's really good. Who does your flyers? And that'd be me. Like, can you do ours? I'm like, yeah, but you give me some money. Like I paid off a lot of our demo tapes and our demo stuff because I made money from other bands by giving them like, okay, here's your flyer copy, go take it to the Xerox and go out to Kinko's and
yo, who does your thumbnails? I do.
I know. I still, and I love that, because that's the same thing that I get today. Right. Is when people go, man, these thumbnails are on point. Like, this is the best one yet. I love it, because I'm always trying to top the last one. Yeah. And so people will go, man, these are the Andrew Tate one was of course a really great one. I did one with Jason Hartman not too long ago, and yes, all I did was just source the illustration, but like I'm known for my thumbnails, right? And so as a result, people be in they'll be in the 2 most common comments I get in my shows is, who does your thumbnails, and who does the music for the intro and the outro? And the answer to both is the same. Yeah, this guy. Yeah.
I'm looking at your page. You share the screen again, right here. I'm looking at this page, right? The one that always caught me was like that girl sucking on the Visa. Jesus Christ.
That was just on. Yeah, I got some other ones. There's another one where it's like this bottle of pills, but instead of the pills, it's actually like Facebook likes that are like tumbling out of it.
Oh my God, the Jordan Peterson one.
The Peterson one's really good.
Christ.
Yeah, that was. Oh, by the way, that one is from. That was after he did the show with Pierce Morgan, and he was crying and everything, and he's like the king of the incels, right?
Right.
I'm like, okay, sounds like the king of the Jews, which is straight out of like Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, we got to use that, you know. And of course, everybody's gonna say, oh, it's blasphemous, and it is. But you know, that's the effect. So I try to tell a story with my thumbnails, but again, that useless art degree comes in real handy.
Comes in clutch.
Once again.
But how would you have guessed? Like, this is why I always tell people, just get skills and just learn into things you're really interested about, because you never know. Like, how would you have predicted you'd be YouTubing right now? Like, imagine you're what, 32, 34 years old on SoSwap. Did you ever think you were going to be on YouTube? Like, you're going to be a full-time YouTuber and talking to guys and stuff?
I didn't even, you know, it's funny. It's my first foray into YouTube had nothing to do with the red pill.
Yeah.
I used to help these guys out on this old school podcast called 40K Radio. It was when I was playing, you know, Warhammer 40,000. And it was a lot, you know, it was just basically, it was basically an excuse to like get drunk and talk shit.
Yeah.
And so, but we had a really good time, and it was fun. It actually ended up becoming something after a while, but we were talking about like YouTube. It wasn't really so much a podcast at the time, because it took a lot of effort to do that. So like, we just take this whole thing here for granted. You used to have to be able to like know something about videography, and you used to have to be able to like doing a live stream. I remember, do you remember Hangouts on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like, that's what we used to have to do. And so we're talking like 2008, 2009 is when it came up. And then I think we kind of quit like right around 2011. But that was actually my first kind of entry into it. But I was just producing. I wasn't even really so much like on the show or anything like that. Right. And so I learned a lot of skills, like the skills that I have right now. I use those. I learned those along the way just because I had a keen interest in stuff like digital photography. My videography skills. I'm really good at Premiere. I can do that no problem. I know pretty much everything in the Adobe like creative suite, like inside and out. The only thing I'm rusty at might be like Dreamweaver, but that's only because I've never had to really use it. Everything else I'm really, After Effects I'm good at, Illustrator, Photoshop I've been using since 1993.
Whew.
Yeah. So when it was 3.0 and the lighting effects just came out and the filters.
Jesus.
I remember that. And so I've got a long and illustrious career when it comes to like my artistic stuff.
I mean, and just to bring that into the context, it's like me saying like, I'm older than Bitcoin.
Yes.
I'm older than all this shit you guys invest in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I've seen things kind of evolve over the years and everything, but like, again, you know, my headspace was different then. And it's funny to look back on. I was watching Myron and Fresh on their 2-year anniversary show, which is tonight, actually.
Shoot, shout out to the boys.
And so they were showing some of these old videos of them from like even back in like 2020, before like they even had like the Frank Castling and the girls and all that stuff. They didn't even have an after-hour show back then. And I looked at that and I go, wow. I mean, humble beginnings, yes, but like it happened really quickly.
Yeah.
But you go and you look and see where they were like in July or August of 2020, and you look at where they're at right now. It's just, you know, what happened, or how did they change their minds about media? How did they change their minds about, or have their minds changed for them, I guess, by money, you know, with respect to money. You're looking at, like, I'm looking at Myron in, you know, circa, you know, August 2020. He doesn't have real estate holdings. He doesn't. He's barely able to, like, hey, we were hoping we were going to be able to afford the apartment, right? And now, like, imagine what his outlook on money is.
Oh yeah. From
August 2020 to August 2022.
Multiple types.
It's a shock to the system.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember when Charlie told me he was giving what's called Myron a consultation. Back in the day, and now has a really sizable like crypto portfolio. I mean, what he must own like 13 properties right now. I mean, just off of the financials alone, in terms of what he's doing with himself, and that's not even talking about the infrastructure of how big now Fresh and Fit is as that, as well as like all the employees they have, the camera. I mean, Jesus. I mean, it's beautiful growth. It's, and you know, both Fresh and Myron have always tried to like, you know, it's a growth mindset. You know, but
I have to really kind of take people. Like guys giving financial advice or success advice.
Yeah.
Now, and this is not a hit on Myron and Fresh or anything like that. Like when I look at guys who suddenly are giving like how long have you been doing crypto for? Like how long have you been doing this?
2016.
And so your background is
completely unrelated. My original background was actually blue collar. I was basically landscape business, irrigation business. So I would install sprinklers. I'd put in basically water lines or something, or like runoff lines for like downspouts and stuff for like I don't know what's it called, gutters,
irrigation, gutters and stuff like
gutters and stuff like that. And then eventually I ended up putting like giant these kind of cannon water blasters to irrigate entire like grazing field for cattle. At the end, right before I transitioned over.
So you had a real working job before you came into this.
12 years. 12 years. I didn't really I didn't pass the business along to my brothers until I was 30 years old. 30 years. I'm 31 right now.
And do you have a degree in business?
Nope.
Do you have a degree in finance?
No, sir.
Do you have a degree in like sales?
I mean, I should.
Do you have a degree? Do you have a degree?
No, I do not. Proudly.
So you have a high school diploma.
Oh, high school.
Take it. Okay.
No, sorry. I didn't even take it. No. Well, kindergarten, you say?
No, the reason I ask it, and it's like, I mean, this is no diss. It's like, again, it's like, it's coming back to Rollo Tomassi doesn't have a doctorate. I don't have a doctorate in evolutionary psychology. I have a very keen interest in it.
Yeah.
And I've been writing in the Manosphere for 20 plus years. So I do have a background like in a lot of this stuff. And I'm not above the being humble enough to say, you know what, I don't know that. I will find out about that, and I will talk about it on next week's podcast, rather than try to pretend like I know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? So what I'm getting at is like, you got to remember that a lot of guys who are giving like financial advice or like success advice right now, they're what we would call nouveau rich back in like in the roaring 20s. That was the term for them, was the nouveau rich, like the newly rich.
Yeah.
And so
new money.
Yes, exactly. And so when you look at this and you see these guys who are out there talking about success and mindset and all this other stuff, and it's like the reason why they default to that is because they don't have any background. They don't have an MBA. They don't have a degree. Like when I listen to the difference between how George Gammon, for instance, talks about like macroeconomics and he talks about money and everything like that, it is qualifiably different than a lot of the guys who are like, hey man, you just got to have the right mindset and then everything will fall into place for you. I'm like, because you know what the hell to say. So that's like, it's kind of like, just be yourself.
There's no action steps of like what to do. Like there's no roadmap to like, how do I start? Like they're talking about like literally step 10.
Right.
Where's 1, 2, 3, 4?
Right.
How do I start?
When I look at and again, this is no flame on these guys because I know what I know them personally behind the scenes. But like if you look at a guy like Patrick Bet-David, or you look at a guy like Gary Vee, or you look at some of these other dudes. Now these guys have I don't know about Dave Ramsey or anything like that, but I look at the guys who are giving advice, and that's really that's their business they're in the advice business. And they're talking about like financial success and here's what you do, or Grant Cardone and stuff like that. Like, here's what you do. I'm like, what were you doing before you came into all of this? Before you, like, are you just nouveau rich, or are you slow money, or are you fast money? Because the guys who are slow money, I'm way more inclined to listen to them and say, okay, this guy must know what the hell he's talking about, as opposed to the guy who was like 18 months ago, he was, just figuring out this crypto stuff. And now 18 months later, he's suddenly a millionaire and he's giving you advice on like success mindset and millionaire mindset. And I'm like, no. Yeah. And in fact,
Rollo's not taking a dig at us, all right?
And again, this is not a dig, but what I'm saying is like when somebody defaults, like say, hey, I hear this all the time because I get the same question. Yeah. People say, or you'll hear it on financial podcasts. They'll say like, hey, I'm 20 years old or 21 years old, and I'm just getting into this stuff right now. I'm in the gym, blah, blah, blah. What advice would you give to a guy my age to maximize his, to make some money? Because I've, money muscle game, right? What should I do? And depending on who's giving the advice, it's almost always, you got to believe in yourself. Yeah. You gotta dig down deep, man. You gotta get that well of confidence and believe in yourself. And it's like believing. I'm like, where's the nuts and bolts? Like where's the don't give me your come up story. Tell me give me some usable, some actionable information here, rather than like this the advice I can get from my pastor at church.
Right.
So when I listen to that, and these guys are genuinely looking for some like actionable, useful stuff. I have to sort of like take a step back and look and who's giving the advice and what they've been doing, and why is it that they default to this like we were saying before, the way you understand money in the old set of rules versus the way that you do now. Maybe that guy is just so far removed, like the one who's giving the advice, the millionaire mindset guy, he might be so far removed from the kid who's 20 years old, 21 years old, that he doesn't know what else to say because he just doesn't have the same frame of reference that he used to.
That is such a good point, because oh my God, there's so many ways I could take this one. Because all right, in my job, right? Basically, I was working for nothing but really rich people. These are the people that could afford my services, as well as like they wanted, like, I mean, you have to have quite a bit of money if you want to be spending $15,000 in plants on your property, just on plant, like no out of college person or just some freshly minted, like a college grad and stuff, an entry level job in a business is going to have like $15,000 in irrigation and plants and everything, right? So I would talk to these people, and they were like, all the people when I would talk to them, they were pretty much like their hustle died. Almost. Yeah. They were living off of like investment income, and it was like they're
not hungry anymore.
They're not hungry anymore, or and on top of that, like what they did to get them rich doesn't work anymore, and they were basically just saved up their equity and their capital and basically invested in real estate and stocks, which was like the normal. So a big thing when you look at a multimillionaire, especially when they're older and stuff, you're like, they're not typically, for the most part, unless they still run their business. It's not really what they tell you is pretty terrible advice for the most part, because what got them to the rodeo, that rodeo packed up and
right. Well, their first successful offer that made them the millionaire in the first place, it might be something completely unrelated. They were in the right place at the right time. They figured out the niche. They had a really successful offer. If you know anything about like Jeff Walker and product launch formula, right? And so suddenly they make $1 million or multi-million dollars off of one offer. It was really, really great. And then, so they have a different opinion about money and themselves, and they're, like, I must be a genius, right? And so what happens is then they're not able to repeat that same success doing like, okay, well, now, and you're
talking about the young guy that made it quick.
Exactly. The nouveau rich, like the newly rich. And so they come back and they go, okay, well, now I gotta top that. Now I gotta figure out what's the next thing. And clearly I can do it because I wouldn't be a millionaire if I wasn't a genius and figured this thing out in the first place, right? And then they realize that they actually can't do that. And so then what happens is they kind of shift into the guru set, which is
success
like
porn.
Now it's not about whatever it was that they were doing before. Now it's how to be a success, right? Because I got $1 million and here's how I was a success. And those are usually the guys who are selling you like, oh, just got to think differently, and you got to, get up at 4 a.m. and hustle, and no days off and shit like that. And it's like, and they're just repeating pretty much what the standard template is. So now they're no longer they're not about what they made them a bunch of money. It's about being the success guy to teach you how they made a bunch of money, right? So their job is about advice now, and not about what their original thing was.
I'm the mindset guy, right?
Right.
Shout out to crypto mindset.
No, well, I'm always really, I use mindset all the time. I'm not shitting on mindset. I'm just saying that it's a transitional grift that they're doing. It's predictable.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing: is the guys who are really the real geniuses, they can repeat it. They can go, you know what? Times are tough. I was a millionaire before. It's the guys who go from rags to riches to rags again, and then to riches again. Like the guys who are able to do that. Those are the dudes that I want to listen to. Right. Those are the guys that say mindset. Okay, I'll listen to you because you didn't have anything. You made a shit ton of money. You went bankrupt. You got zeroed out, and after you got zeroed out, you came back on top after all of that too. So there has to be something that you figured out along the way. That's the guy that I want to talk to, not the guy who had one success and he can't repeat it, and now he's a mindset guru. Right. So you have to be really careful of that, because there's a lot of guys that get into that. Because what in the nouveau rich thing, what made them, they happen to be in the right place at the right time, too much, too young, too fast. Hopefully they can hang on to it and they make wise decisions. So I always use Myron from Fresh and Fit as the example here. Myron made a lot of money really, really quick. And to his credit, he has taken that and been a very good steward of that money. Yep. So, big props to him for having done that. But, at some point you kind of have to say, am I really a genius, or did I just I just jumped on this and I really hammered it home at the right time, and now I'm going to see so either get out of the space or figure out, stay hungry and do the next thing.
And typically the people that Rollo's kind of talking about are people who just catch a trend and it's popping for a while and they manage to capitalize on it. It's like, imagine during the time, we're as an example, let's just say what is those the fidget spinners, right? Imagine you're the guy who got fidget spinners really popular.
Which I have one. Yes. I mean, it's like for people with ADD, like
yeah, you're just playing with these toys, right? And then you capitalize on it, and then sales start going down, and then but you made a lot of money off that, and they transition to something else. There's nothing wrong.
I created the keyboard tie.
Yeah, the keyboard tie. Yeah, pen rocks, you guys.
What have you done? Nothing.
Yeah. I made Dilbert.
Yeah. It's like, exactly. Are you a one-hit wonder, or are you a real musician? Are you a real band? And I think that's really what it comes down to. Are you like a real artist? Are you a real genius? Or are you just somebody who was in the right place at the right time and did the right thing? And so I don't think I've mentioned this on my own show, but I think you and I might have talked about this before. I have worked with some very, very wealthy people in my life. And I don't mean like rich people. I mean wealth. Yes. I forget who it was. It might have been Chris Rock who tried to make the distinction between like real wealth. Like he was saying, like, Michael Jordan like makes X amount of dollars, but then you go and you look at like Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates is wealthy. Like, I mean, like he breathes and he makes money, right? Elon, wealth. These are people who make so much money that like they don't even like that it moves worlds kind of thing, right? So I'm not saying that the guys that I work with like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, but like I've worked with people in the liquor distribution companies who are like billionaires easily. And I don't want to name names because I know I'll get in trouble. I have worked with casino guys in Reno at the Tri Properties and stuff like that. I know names, right? I know people who are legitimately wealthy. And I always use this as my analogy. I said, there's a reason why those guys, like the Jeff Bezoses and Elon Musks, there's a reason why they don't have a podcast. And they're like, I'm going to teach you how to be, you got to get mindset and all that. You know why they don't teach it? Because they're busy making money. They're busy doing exactly what they do. And so it's not about like mindset and here's how to repeat this. And I'm going to go to this convention and talk about success and everything like that.
The convention circuit.
I want to know what the guy who's the president of our Republic National Distributing Company for the liquor distribution. I want to know what he does. I want to know what the guys from Diageo do. I want to know what the guys who are running these multi-million-dollar like empires. Those are the guys that I want to look at, and they ain't doing seminars, and they're not writing success books, and they're not like telling me their come-up stories. They're busy making fucking money. That's why. So
I can't say anything against it, man. But let me read a couple.
I was gonna say we got to get to chats here.
Let's get the super chats real quick. Let me see if I missed a couple. All right, Douglas Collins, right? I want money because Big Brother Rolo, the prophet, got headspace on point, but I need money. All right.
Good. Yeah. You need nuts and bolts. You need an action plan is what you need.
Definitely. Anime Red Pill $5. DCC, what's E-Wing irrigation to you? Quite a lot. I've used a lot of their products before. But we mostly use, depending on the irrigation store, we use what's called a Rainbird, or we would just use like a third party sort of like. Each one of them essentially has kind of like a hustle, or like has sort of like a niche on which parts they got to use. Like some people have way better sprinklers, other ones have way better valves actually and stuff in terms of. So there's different.
Landscaping shit.
Oh yeah, I know landscaping very well. No, very well. Yeah.
I was gonna say. By the way, anime. according to Matt Wall, she's like, I think it's satanic. I'm like, oh man, you do not want to open that can.
And to Douglas Collins with the $50 super chat, DCC, I'm very grateful for your work. Thank you, big sir. Hey, thank you so much, man.
Don
DeMarco, baby. No, thank you so much. And then we got, let's see, BJ Tucker, great collab, you guys, with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, man. And Ryan Sullivan, I was listening to the lectures of Crypto Sloth. I brought my first cyclohedron and Icosa. Thanks, Miguel. Yeah, no problem, man. And hey, shout out to Crypto Sloth, one of my students. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we help a lot of the guys that start off in our courses and do a lot of we basically help them start off, and we always tell people if you really hyper niche into something, go start a podcast about it in the crypto space. You can, like right now, there's so many coins right now that I think will survive. You can become the expert in there, and then now you're the guy. Like Crypto Sloth's become the guy of Hedron. It's basically a coin that helps out Hex, but he's become the person for that one now. And now he's like doing consultations now and making really great money because he's an expert in that.
And he has the background.
And he has the background.
Don't become a Leia Heilpern. That's the moral of the story. I told you we're going to use the flamethrower today. And everybody's going to catch fire.
Red meat for the red pill, right?
Well, it's funny. I was talking to Trader
yes,
SD.
Yeah.
And I was talking about like there's some other chick that like God, every day something makes me aware of another crypto thought. But like I thought it was funny. It's like, and I'm gonna throw her under the bus, but like, it was funny that like to me that Leah Halpern did one interview with Andrew Tate, and she's the premier expert on Andrew Tate.
Bro, she doesn't. What? No hate against her, but Jesus Christ, she did one interview, and she's like nonstop Andrew Tate interviews and talking about Andrew Tate and reviewing Andrew Tate.
Come to the source. What? Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. I thought it was funny. He says, and I think I told you this, is right after the Pierce Morgan interview, they had like sort of like it was almost like the NFL after game report kind of thing. Here's the game. It's between Pierce and Andrew Tate, and then they had this panel show, and I felt it was like I was watching like Howie Long and Terry Bradshaw, the rest of these guys getting together to talk about like what was going on. And so I'm watching this, and I'm like, who are the people that are on here? And there's 3 chicks, and there's one guy who I have no idea who the dude is. He's just this token guy. They needed one male on the panel, and it's Leah Halpern. It's Esther K. I don't know what her real name is. This black girl who's actually from the UK as well. Leah, by the way, is from the UK, so she's got that kind of British accent, although she lives in Miami. And then there's some other girl and some other guy, and I apologize, I do not remember their names. But I'm looking at it, I'm like, why is Esther on here, and why is Leah Halpern on here to talk about like the manosphere and the topics that they were talking about? And then I realized because like Leah's she's Bitcoin girl, right? She's. In fact, I did her show when I was in Miami back in June, and I mean, we had a great time. It was a great talk and everything. But aren't you Bitcoin girl?
Yeah, she's like switching almost lanes a little bit, right? Because what's going on right now? Crypto's down,
right?
Engagement's
so down. Find something else.
I gotta like.
Oh yeah, and nothing pays the bills like intersexual dynamics. Yeah. I also see, and I forget the girl's name, the black girl that's on PragerU right now. And I forget the name of the show, but she's the black girl, and her name is like Amala or Alama, or I can't Alama. I can't remember what her name is, but she of course comes at Fresh and Fit. She comes at Andrew Tate. She comes at all this. I'm like, this is kind of not your wheelhouse usually, right? And so they do that. Jedediah does that. Adam's doing that. It's like it's easy pickings right now,
right?
And then I look at like Leah Halpern, who was like, you made your mark with Bitcoin. Like, where is this coming from? And then you realize that it's not about Bitcoin. It's not about that. It's just like whatever pushes.
That's what's hot right now. And
whatever pushes her brand. And I'm like,
you should see the interview with Andrew Tate. It's a good interview, but
I saw. I mean, I did the whole
but like she's in the video. Like this is oh my god, this looks so bad. But like when she's in the video, it's blocking. Like she's sitting like this, right, sideways, and like basically she has a blur sign right there on her legs because basically in the interview she's showing like half her coochie.
You can see her cooter.
Yeah, you can see her cooter, and then they blocked it out, and I was like, oh my god.
What is that? What is that? What is this? Fatal retraction? I forget. What was the one where Sharon Stone was like crossing her legs?
Yeah, because people have been saying for a while that like she's like, oh, she's thirsting for Tate, and then when they actually do the interview, she's got the cooter out. Like, bro, what?
Andrew Tate like totally like made her an alpha widow. Like shit. Like remember? Okay, so if you know anything about like my essays and stuff that, one of the things and this is an old essay is like 5 minutes of alpha trumps like 5 years of beta. Like case in point, I wrote the defense rests, Your Honor. Yeah, and so the only reason I'm actually bringing her up is because again, it's like when you see these guys who are ostensibly about politics or ostensibly about money or ostensibly about Bitcoin or whatever. Like, I mean, it's crypto thoughts and whatever. And if I was to be like bold enough as to say like I trust Miguel more about crypto than I would ever trust like Leah Halpern about what's going on and trends and stuff like that, because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What's the first thing people are gonna go? Well, it's because she's a girl and you're a misogynist. And you're like, no, it's because she's a product and you're not a product. You're actually about this. So.
Yeah. I mean, just for people to understand, right? The reason, like, because I've had people tell me, like, why you haven't red people on, or red pill people on, or whatever. Because me and Charlie were talking about the red. Yeah, it's a crossover. We were talking about the red pill when it was actually a negative to talk about, really a negative. I'm talking about when it was like, this is like, we were talking about this this is like 2019 when it was like, what's the red pill? What's
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And nobody got time for that and stuff. Like we were doing streams with MLD and stuff.
We got people in the chat right now. When are they going to get to crypto? It's like, well, you know, okay, here, you want to get to crypto? Yes, I'm a Mexican. And do I like Miguel is my financial advisor as far as like crypto goes, and then Trader SZ.
Yeah.
You two guys are the two people I listen to. And so, and because I know your background, I know you've been about it. I don't here's the thing is, I don't think you're going to start like, you know, a sports show anytime soon or like pivot to something else, right? Like completely unrelated, right? No. So because I know what you're about, and I know what your background is, and I'm far more willing to take your advice about like, you know, where things are going. And by the way, I wanted to bring this up is when we're talking about, you know, how like guys in the crypto space, you want to talk about red pill rage, or you want to talk about going from like the old way of thinking to the new way. I think one of the main frustrations, and because I felt the same way, right? I felt the same way, was like, when it comes to like investing, like I know enough to get myself in trouble. Now that's like me going onto like Fidelity or whatever. Like I've never been a day trader per se, but you know, I put stuff into, like I diversify I have a diverse portfolio, put it that way. I got to the point because I knew people who like taught me enough about that I could get into trading. Right? Okay, great. Do I have funds? Do I have, you know, I do not have a 401k. I've got CDs and I have IRAs. I got other kinds of, I have an SEP. I've got lots of other irons in the fire, of course. But like when it comes to crypto, I was frustrated because I didn't know enough about it. I understand the technology. I understand blockchain very well. I get it because I have the tech background. I get, but it's like, what is, especially when it's like little, you know, pump and dumps, when it's like shit coins, when it's like people who are making money in like sort of the penny stocks side of crypto. Yeah. And it's like, I'm almost at the point where it's like that same frustration where I didn't know anything about like trading. Yeah. And then I, you know, gradually, slowly learn how to do that. Then like, I feel like I'm kind of at that point in crypto right now that it has to almost be like sort of like this side hustle or this hobby that you have to be like, take a real keen interest in. Right. And then there's so many. Like, I didn't know what Hedron was until you told me what it was. I knew what Hex was. Give me a little credit. But like, so there's like John MLD told me about like Polkadot, right? I'm like, okay, I'll get it. I'm always a hobby investor. Like I would put a little here and a little there kind of thing just to see how it worked. But I'm still kind of at the phase where it's like, okay, what kind of scheme, what kind of strategies can I use to like maximize, if I'm going to get into this, like I'm a strategic player. I don't like first person shooter games. I'm more of like, I play like real time strategy games. I'm good at chess. I'm good at Warhammer 40,000, right? Turn-based. Yes. I like turn-based stuff like that. I want to know like where, like I want to think like 7 moves ahead. And it's like, I don't know enough about the space to really be like, I know I'll get myself in trouble if I'm doing it because I don't know the pieces and how the pieces move so that I can form a strategy around those pieces.
I mean, basically what I was trying to do with you and stuff was basically put you into the best cryptos that are going to be here for the long term, right? So it was Ethereum, Hex, later Polkadot's going to survive, Cosmos. We haven't made these investments in some of those yet because we believe the prices are going to keep going lower on them, right? But like Ethereum's always like it's like if anyone tells you like the Bitcoin girl or this is, of course, like it's such a no-brainer. Who's not going to get into Bitcoin? Right, but but like if you look in mainstream media, everyone's going to push the Bitcoin thing on you, and can you believe it or not? Like there's actually more gains to be made if you believe Bitcoin's going to make it. Ethereum's going to do just as well and probably even better because it's got smaller market cap. So that means when it shoots up, it will actually make more percentage gains than Bitcoin. I mean, if you actually look at the bottoms of Bitcoin to the tops and stuff, you maybe made 20. If you bought the absolute bottom on Bitcoin and sold the absolute top, you made 22 times on your money. If you bought the absolute bottom on Ethereum and sold the absolute top on Ethereum, you made 63 times on your money. So you made 3 times your money with no fucking extra risk, realistically. And then
if you could set that right.
If you could set that right. Now, now this is like because we've been in this. So this is my third time. So there's a crypto cycle is 4 years, right? This is my third one. I'm going into my third cycle right now. Okay. And just to preface this, when I started my YouTube channel, I could have started a crypto YouTube channel back in 2016. I didn't because I actually wanted to make money first because I didn't want to start a YouTube channel. Like I didn't want to be like this grifter guy who started a YouTube channel talking about shit coins before I even made any money. Right. So I didn't start. You can look at my YouTube channel. I didn't start besides the first video, which just says test. There's just like a test video. My first video, I did not start my crypto channel until I made $1 million from crypto. It wasn't just all from Hex, because Hex hadn't pumped enough during that time. I had made it from other stuff basically. Now, from there, I just kept learning and learning and learning, and then through teaching just thousands. I mean, we've taught 11,000 people so far. Oh, wow. Seriously, we've seriously got the biggest crypto course in the world. We've helped the most nuts and bolts. We just don't teach people like, oh, we like success porn. This is just the mindset. The mindset's basically to stay around, because we tell people this isn't a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
You're not you can't. There's during certain parts of the market, you can buy Dogecoin, and then fucking Elon Musk the next day talks about it, and then it just fucking goes to 81 cents, and then he's on SNL with this maracas or whatever,
jacking around,
jacking around and stuff, and probably pumping and dumping Dogecoin. Seriously, he probably owned a bunch of Dogecoin on the low, sold the top on it,
and got in and got it. One thing I also noticed is like a lot of the guys and like. I hate to throw Leia Heilpern into this.
No, because I actually like her. She's a smart girl. I think she has some staying power.
My thing is this: is like whenever I see guys who start giving crypto, like they're really on board with crypto. It's great, and what do you hold? Bitcoin and Ethereum. They couldn't tell you anything other than the two the biggest names. But then they kind of distract with well, I don't like anything that the Fed can control, and I'm in it because I don't want my money controlled by the government, and let's talk about the government now, and let's talk about taxes, and it's like, dude, that's to me that sounds like you're just kind of let's sidetrack you over here because I really don't know what the hell I'm talking about, because they don't have any real experience in crypto. That's similar, I think, to guys who are like, oh yeah, it's mindset, and you just got to think success. It's the same kind of shit. It's like, well, and the Fed. Well, if I hear that from George Gammon, I 100% will listen to George Gammon. But if I hear that from some guy who's doesn't know anything about, you can clearly know that he doesn't know anything about crypto. Yeah. And then it's all, don't trust the government. It's the Illuminati. Yeah. I'm like, really? We're doing that now? Oh, okay. So then I understand that it's not about nuts and bolts. I want to know what works and what doesn't. I want to know what the pieces on the table are, on the map are, and I want to know the how they move, and I want to know the strategies, how to move those pieces. If you're the kind of guy that can tell me that, then I will listen to what you have to say.
So let me tell you right now the landscape, because I want to get at some point into the podcast about the red pill anger in crypto. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on right now. Right? We basically
Should we buy sushi?
No, no, absolutely. Now, I saw a trade. I saw a lot of people talking about sushi and things and Sushi Swap and all this other stuff, but that just seemed more like a trade to me, because there's a DEX is decentralized. It's a decentralized exchange basically. So it runs on top of Ethereum or any of these L1s. And what an L1 is basically it's basically a different version of Ethereum. It's like, fuck Starbucks, Pete's Coffee, baby. Oh, okay. That's really what it's. They both sell coffee, but mine's got the Pete's Coffee label on it, and then there's fuck that, I like 7-Eleven coffee.
XRP, should we get XRP? PYR, we need PYR.
Maybe it's look at some point. I might even take a shot. Look, this took me. This is maturity in the crypto space. I used to throw a lot of shots in communities, and then I've just learned. You know what? It's not their. I see what they're trying to do. They're actually trying to make some money and stuff like that. In terms of what they do, I don't like what XRP does. They're helping banks instead of making ourselves banks. It's kind of almost a power play to kind of give the power back to the banks in a way, and kind of give them a new SWIFT system is really what they are at the crux of Ripple XRP, right? But in terms of a money play, there's money to be made there, because they are going to win their lawsuit against the United States government. They're going to win. They're 30, 40 cents right now. If they win that thing, they're literally going to pump back to $1 to $3. Because they'll be listed on every fucking major. They got delisted from every exchange. Just like Hex is not listed on any exchange. The minute you get listed on these big exchanges and people are like, wow, what's this? Wow, it's back.
Where did this come from? Yeah.
Boom. You just explode back up. There's a bunch of pumped up demand wanting to buy, but the thing is, most people don't even know where to buy XRP. I can teach you where to buy XRP, but there's a certain level of knowledge. So most people are just like you said, Yeah, what's Bitcoin? I know Bitcoin. I know Ethereum, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, Ethereum, bro. Yeah, like I'm telling you, Ethereum and Bitcoin are, yeah, bro.
And the Fed.
And the Fed and stuff. Yeah, I mean, one Bitcoin. If you own, there's only 21 Bitcoin in the world, right? If you own one Bitcoin, you'll have more money than all the other millionaires. All the millionaires couldn't get that Bitcoin from you. That's like the not the grift, but the story that we tell in crypto.
I was going to ask you, like, that kind of gets to a question I had for you. Actually, I don't think I've ever even asked this before.
Yeah.
Like, as far as like, say XRP or PY or Sushi or
Sure.
whoever or Hex, like, okay, we know who's like in charge of Hex. Obvious, clearly, Richard Hart is a personality.
Personality.
And I'm understating that. Okay, but like, say for like Sushi, say for like XRP or stuff, does the backstory of like why they got into it, like when we talk about like, say, Red Pill Lions, our NFT,
Yes.
right? Our backstory, the reason why I got into it, the reason why the Savo brothers got into it, the reason why we did that as our NFT, it has a purpose. It's not like, well, it's rug pull, let's do it. I mean, you were here just last week with our utilities guys. Yeah. We make good on the things that we were going to do, but like, so there's a story to it, right? You know, like if you buy a Red Pill Lions, an NFT, you get one, whatever it is. Hopefully you get a good rare one, right?
There's branding.
You know who's behind. You know I'm on it.
Yeah.
You know you're behind it. You know that Rocky and Kev are behind it, and so you know the people and the players involved. Now, if you take that familiarity, okay, this is why they're doing it, because we want to use this as sort of a money or a battery to fund other things, to that like push back against the narrative, that push back against like World of Women and that kind of stuff, like the NFT. So you know the backstory. Now, when you get into like PYR or you get into XRP or you get into that stuff, is it the guy who was starting it? Like, is it his backstory? Like, I don't know anything about the
Brad Garlinghouse.
I don't know anything about him. Like, I mean, I know enough about what's the guy from Ethereum?
Vitalik.
Right. So I mean, that's easy to figure out. But like some of these guys, lesser known coins and stuff like that, do you think that people get into those because of the guy's like sort of like philosophy or his mentality, or it's like in the Fed, right? Like, he's about in the Fed, I'll go buy his coin.
Initially, yes. So in terms of what I do in crypto, I'm a fundamental analysis. I do fundamental analysis. Now, there's technical analysis, which is looking at the price charts and stuff, kind of what Trader does.
Yeah, just numbers.
Yeah, just numbers and stuff. Mine is more of like finding out what, like, product market fit, as well as like community research, and then from there storylines, or that's branding or news events that are going on, and that's usually how I trade and invest. Does this product have a long-term fit? Do people believe in it? Is the figurehead really popular? Is he still around? These are the things that I look at when I get into a project. I don't even look at the basic thing is I look at the name. What's the current price? Okay, what's it done in the past? All right. Then from there, I get into the storyline and like, what's the WWE story on this, and does it actually have play? Does the community actually believe? Is it just a bunch of? Is there no community at all, or is it all venture-backed money? Like, what's the angle here that's going to make this thing probably pop, or possibly like last the test of time? Because if something lasts a long time, it will have these huge impulsive ways where you can make money. So when I look at something like XRP, initially it was Brad Garlinghouse, right? And what the reason I've really scratched my head at this for a long time. So basically, like the people that really like XRP, and I mean this without any disrespect, looking at this from the outside, because I own some XRP. I made a little bit of money on it, left it alone for a long time because it just underperformed forever. The reason I think people really like XRP is because it's more of just like, if we're going to own XRP and we're in the inside crowd. So it's sort of this storyline. It's inside the community. They're like, one day it's going to pump, and then we're going to become the main financial asset. Basically, it's almost like we're going to become the Bitcoin that everyone uses because we have to use this. So we're buying our coins right now, and everyone's going to be our fucking slaves in a couple of years and stuff, because we were the smart, intelligent. That they're playing on I call it professor coins. Where like professors put all these big words in here, and they're doing this, and they show the math, and you don't understand all the connections we're making here and here and here and here, and then me and Charlie distill it down to like, okay, what have you done for me recently? Or like, that's nice, but like, where's the gains?
Show me the money,
right? Now, there was a lot of people who got into XRP very early on and made a lot of money. Seriously, I'm talking about like sub pennies, I mean fractions of pennies, and it pumped up to a lot of dollars. I can't remember what the all-time high was in 2017, but basically it went to a few dollars. So people who got into XRP made a fortune. I'm talking about like fortune, for Ethereum level fortune, made a lot of people a lot of money. So those people stuck around, and then they made channels and just try to keep this thing alive. And then from there, what ended up happening is that the company Ripple made so much money that they started getting into deals and getting into governments and stuff like that and trying to make things happen. Like right now, like the XRP is making their own, they're making a SWIFT system basically for Japan, China, Korea, Brazil. So they're
Fed coins. So like government, government, like economy coins.
Economy coins, and because they attribute like, oh, they're working with all these big nations, and as soon as they switch them on and they use these systems, the use case of XRP will go up. So it's like their storyline's like, hey, this is a longer term story, but at some point it's going to pump up, and everyone's going to be forced to use their system, right? And so that's really cool. So
so it's fighting for like standardization. Is it at least the belief that it could be standardized in the future.
Correct. Yeah. And people love to be in coins where they can sound really smart. This is why I call it professor coins. Now, you can make a lot of money in professor coins at certain points, but this is what I really don't like these coins sometimes in terms of the way they brand themselves, because they really want to sound really, really smart to anybody who's like, no, you fool. You don't understand. They almost get to Alex Jones conspiracy theory level, or like what's his name from like Sunny in Philadelphia and stuff, where he's got all the fucking things on the chart.
Art Bell.
Like, you don't understand. Only these 5 coins are going to be allowed in the system. Stuff. If you don't own these coins right now, like the prices are going to go bananas and stuff, and you're going to be
the robot dogs are going to come and take your baby.
It's the same, and it gives me Vietnam flashbacks to people who used to listen to I remember watching, like, because I was trying to get my financial education on YouTube, right? The Gutenberg press and stuff, and I remember watching all these gold and silver guys, and I've heard like 4 or 5 different silver YouTube channels back in the day, basically saying, at some point, we're going to be trading silver for all things. 1 ounce of silver is going to buy you a house. Everyone's going to have to. I mean, it's basically this giant story that they do this in crypto. They do this in all assets, especially when they get really radicalized in these small niche communities. This is why, like, someone like you that has this background in behavioral, behavioral psychology, when you're just basically researching into people and how they act and stuff. So there's like a group psychosis that happens, and basically the group psychosis is, okay, we're all poor and stuff like that, but we work together. This thing can pump up a lot, and then the guys who get in later and stuff, we're now the new masters. And instead of it being a thing of kumbaya, we're all gonna help out, and it's improving the whole world. It becomes this whole thing is like, eventually, and this is what pissed me off about the Bitcoiners, is that, like, we own all the Bitcoin, and like, fuck all these old, like, that's the old world. We're gonna flip over the entire economic system stuff, and we're gonna be in control. And because we're in control, we're the new slave master. And like, every time I hear these guys talk, I think
we're the
authority now. We're the slave masters. These are going to be our new slaves. You have to placate to us and stuff. We don't got to do anything. Like, and I don't like it. Rubs me the wrong way all the time.
Tribalism. It's like that is one thing I do understand. The more I get into crypto, as I understand the tribalistic aspect of crypto.
Yeah.
I mean, Hexicans are definitely a breed apart.
Of course.
Let's just say, didn't you have RG3 on here?
Yeah,
I love me some RG3. Like, it's funny. It's like, I knew RG3 before I met him at PulseCon, right?
Yeah.
Only, and not because of anything crypto. He was just a personality. He was just cool, and he was entertaining, right? And then I realized, this guy knows what the hell he's talking about. So I would love to get him to Vegas so we could do a show together, because that would be fun.
It would be super
I'll dress
fun.
up like a pirate if he will. So
all right,
RG3, I actually do have a tricorn hat. I'll wear a pirate's outfit if you will when you come to Vegas, dude. I will come in full pirate regalia.
Yeah. So me and him started the first. I mean, basically, like, there was basically 2 shows back in the day. There was Hexologist, which he had his own YouTube channel, and Discourse Syndicate. I co-founded Discourse Syndicate along with RG3, and we were basically the 2 longest running like, we started the entire YouTube movement for Hex back in the day. So like, I was his co-host, and me and him would just talk for hours.
I love RG3.
Yeah, we did 4-hour. We would do 4-hour streams.
And the fact that he also rides longboards like me is like, good on you, brother.
Yeah.
I would love to go ride with him sometime.
So that's like the whole XRP thing, and There is like a whole like like we can get into the that's more of a darker side of it. Like, and then the other part about these professor coins is that they use all these connections and all these highfalutin things and all this and this to not talk about price performance. And one thing why I really liked Hex is because we never beat around the bush. It's like, oh fuck, the coin's going down right now, but hey, we think it's a good price. We always talk about the price, because why did people get into crypto? For money. Of course. But there's this whole thing in crypto where like they want to not talk about that because they're not performing. But no, they don't want to have a serious conversation of why are they not performing right now. And Hex has always put that mirror to its face and been like, yeah, we're just not performing right now because there's a big whale selling right now, or like, wow, there's this big whale buying up right now, or like a movie's coming out, or Pulse Chain's going to launch and that's going to pump. Like we've always been very real about that, and that's one thing that I really appreciate about the Hex community is that whether good news or bad news, we're very real about ourselves. And then we talk about what's really happening to us right now. Where a lot of coins, they'll just jingle the keys this way to keep you distracted while their price performance is going like this. Or the founders of these coins, like one Bitcoin, the Chainlink, it's used everywhere in crypto, but the founders of this coin were market dumping it for fucking years until finally they just recently said in the last 6 months, we're going to stop selling the coins now, finally. Because we've now sold enough coins that we have a nice big war chest, and then we've now opened offices all over the world and stuff, and now we can grow ourselves into the next thing and stuff. And some people would say, oh, you're hating me. Oh, well, it would have been really nice for that disclosure to all the other people who bought Chainlink and stuff like this. There's tons of people that held Chainlink from 2020. 2020 was an amazing year. 2021 failure, 2022 failure. I mean, 2 years they basically missed half of the bull market because they were just holding on to this thing and it didn't do multiples anymore. So you just had a bunch of people just buying in, trying to hold the price up. Basically, while these guys,
it's like playing, I tell you, it's like playing fantasy football, and you get these star players, and then like one gets an injury, and you got to find somebody else to put in for your star running back or whatever. Like, I play fantasy football. Thank you very much. I know people are like, oh, I can't believe Rolo plays. Yeah, I do. Sorry. And not sorry.
Not sorry.
Well, but I mean, it's similar. It's like you think you got some really good star player that's going to be, and then suddenly he's on injured reserve, or like he just is underperforming. And then you've got like guys that were just sort of like, oh, I'll pick him up if I can. And then that was the one that actually sort of takes off, and you don't realize that you didn't think they were, but you were going to pick it up too. I kind of like, at least, I mean, maybe that's the wrong analogy I should be using, but like that's kind of like how I see my setup with my crypto right now.
Right. I mean, you are playing fantasy, and let's just say we are playing fantasy football. We are. We're hoping that this star lineup team that we're putting up is going to perform, but because the way normally in stocks, right, you would have to be very safe and pick mostly blue chips, and then you would maybe gamble on one or two stocks. We're here. I mean, I think they're blue chips, but most people would look at them and they're not blue chips, but the gains are so good in crypto that you really only have to be right on one really big in one season to like make crazy money.
I didn't even think about that. That's actually a pretty decent analogy now that I think about it. Because like you usually got your quarterback, and your quarterback is the one who's like really going to be the one who's going to score you the most points. So you want to make sure you got a good player. So you think of those as like those are your mains, right? That's going to be like your Bitcoin. Those are going to be like the stable coins, right? Or those are the ones you're going to want.
The staples,
right? So maybe your running backs are Ethereum. I don't know. And then you got your wild cards. You got your wide receivers, and like so you've got some ones that are like really kind of fluctuate. And then you got your tight end, which is kind of like an up and comer, but he's also like stable, almost close, could be a stable coin at some point. And then you got your flex player. And your flex player, that one's just like anything goes. You could try to do what you can. It's interesting. I didn't even really think about that as sort of being analogous to
I mean, like what's going on right now is that we're in the off season, and it's looking like our Tom Brady, like let's call Ethereum Tom Brady. Tom Brady just has an injury. He's not performing so well. And then that's when you actually bid on to try to get him as a player. Like right now, like Ethereum's at like what? I'll look at the price right now.
16?
Hex is at 4 cents.
I know.
Sheesh.
I want to ask you about that. We got to come back to that because I want to know why Hex spiked.
Okay. So Ethereum right now is at $1,500. It's at $1,500 right now. Just go back to one little last point. There's so many caveats to this, but basically what's going on is in 2017 we crashed because of crypto crashed, not because the world crashed us, right? This time around, crypto was still pumping. We should have kept pumping, and what happened is the entire macro landscape started crashing. The Federal Reserve started increasing the federal fund rate. I think basically in January of earlier this year, the first one, or in December, I forget which the first rate, and then they did it again, and again, and basically, boom, because crypto is so reactive that we crash first, and then we're more than likely, because we crash first, we're gonna be the first one out.
Yeah,
because we've had the most amount of time to get out of it. So what's going on is like we still have some bad news. The Fed is still going to increase rates, as well as we have all this looming stuff. And like I feel really terrible for the people out in Ukraine, but not even just Ukraine. Anyone in Europe right now, I feel terrible for them because their cost for just electricity and heating is going to be horrible. I mean, we're basically about to enter November, December, January are going to be the 3 coldest months, and damn, that is squeezing the European economy so hard right now. And Germany is under huge financial strain right now. And Germany is basically half of the economy of Europe right now. The other half is basically, I would say, France, and then the other countries, even though I'm being kind of like funny here a little bit, but like the two main horses you bet on is basically France and Germany. And Germany's really good, the one that they have a high savings rate there. They're the huge investors in the whole space, and now they're getting pressed so hard that they're not making any investments and stuff as a population, not as a government. And this is putting huge brakes on the whole economy. And now the euro has gone from $1.30 down to like $1 now. $1.
Yeah.
So
I did see that.
So they're having to print tons of money.
And then Britain is like, they're screwing themselves, or they,
So we have to
elect women get.
So we could have all it takes is like what Russia to do a dirty bomb or a tactical small nuke, and then
escalate it in some way.
All the markets head down. So Ethereum could very well hit $600. So $600, $800. I mean, I got Fresh and Fit to buy it at $900 to $1,000. Look at that. So that's been in the money since they made that purchase and stuff like that. And look, even now you're up 50% of your money on the second biggest blue chip asset in the game, right? Bitcoin didn't really return that level of money to you, really, because like we're basically close to the low. Like Bitcoin hit $17,000 is basically as low as it got on some exchanges. It's at 20 grand right now. You were able to buy Ethereum at $888. It's at $1,500. You see what I mean when it comes to like why I'm choosing Ethereum? Now, next, maybe 4 years from now, I might tell you, Rolo, you know what? This time around, Ethereum actually didn't do the things it did, and now it's starting to lose confidence in the market. Now we have to choose a second player, or maybe we just go safer and just do Bitcoin this time. But as of for this cycle, for when we're seeing Ethereum's a really great pick, right? So it's Brady, and then so people are discounting Brady right now, and it's going to hit a point where it can hit $600 depending on how bad things get. We buy Ethereum at $600, safe play, and then within a year or 2 years from that $600 event, it will be back at $3,200, $5,100, its all-time high, or maybe possibly even $10,000. So you just bought a fucking AAA asset in the crypto space, which basically 80% of all cryptocurrency assets are built on top of Ethereum, and based off of Ethereum.
Our NFT is
it's based off Ethereum. So if like and like people get like, I've had some Bitcoiners get mad at me for saying this, but like I mean, if I really think in terms of what really is my Bitcoin, I would say it's Ethereum, because I use Ethereum almost damn near on a daily basis, and other than holding Bitcoin as just like a gold bar inside my wallet, I've actually used Ethereum for like Ethereum is crypto really to me, and where it's going, even though it's slow and it's taken forever to get these upgrades and we're just waiting forever and stuff like that, but they're playing around with like they make one mistake, it's $190 billion mistake.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, same thing with the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin guys don't even upgrade Bitcoin anymore because it's a $400 billion mistake. You make one.
The stakes are higher. Because, the multiples are higher.
Right.
Okay, so Hex is up, Hedron's down. Like, what's the play there? Now, I want to know why did Hex spike? And it's on its way down now, by the way. I mean, I looked at it this morning, like, damn, look at my Hex. And so I looked at it, and I know it's coming down because I guess there's some lawsuit against Richard right now, which is not, it's fairly public knowledge. But I honestly, I think they're just trying, like,
they're just trying to scare.
They're just trying to scare them, so, scare people out of the market. Yeah.
So, okay, let me just find the page. Okay, so right now, Hex is at 4.5 cents. It hit 5 cents for a second, right? Now, what's going on is basically the second biggest player in Hex, which we call him the God Whale. Basically, he's a long-term player who's just bought. He's always bought a lot of Hex, staked it out, and basically really never sold really. So he just buys, doesn't really take profits much because he really believes in the thing long term as a product and stuff, right? So he started recently buying. He started buying $100,000 at a time. And what ends up happening is people who watch his wallet are like, wow, it's like as an example, like Warren Buffett's starting to buy Hex, the Warren Buffett of our team, because Warren Buffett plays long term, right? So the God whale is playing long term. So this big player is starting to buy Hex right now. Holy crap! And then it gets people because
pile-on effect.
Pile-on effect, and that's what's going on. So so let me tell you this. So Hex was at basically 3.8 cents, and then the lawsuit thing happened, and we went down to 3.1 cents. And then we figured out, and I had RG3 on here, I had Travis and stuff, and every shout out to them, and we were just laughing at this. Like, this guy's suing for $1,800 fucking dollars. Yeah. It's like a bullshit lawsuit.
SEC, yeah. Oh, it's an SEC filing. Yeah, in the state of North Carolina, and it's like this bullshit lawsuit. And really, all it is just to put a buffer on that.
And we have a lot of Hexicans who are also lawyers in the space. I've looked at it, and we're just laughing like, what retard?
I was sketchy about that too because I saw that this morning, and I was like, is that really going on? And then I looked at it and I go, this seems like bullshit to me.
Yeah.
And then I asked Trader SC, and then I hit up you, and all it is just they'll throw it out, or it will never, there's no legs to it, and it's really. But you got to remember, like the point of it is to sort of cool off the spike. Is what it's for.
So what's going on right now is we're gonna. So okay. Now there's two ways to talk about this.
The God whale is Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
It might be.
Shout out to the God whale, man. But let me put it like this. Like, so I'm going to tell you the bullish case and probably the more practical way to think about it. Okay. Now the bullish case is, yeah, baby, the bottom's in. It's only up from here of you guys. Woo, pulse chain coming in, right? Like I've been. Just from what I'm seeing, pulse chain's not coming. If we, I mean, this is the most luck in the world if it came out like in the last week of December. Like it's more than likely pulse chain's gonna come out in booth in Q1 of next year, right? So it's not right now. So that's not the reason why it's bumping. Now, people on YouTube are just like, whoa, let's bandwagon on. If the price keeps running, I fucking love it because people want action now, and I'll get to Hedron in 1 second. Because when prices are down, people want something. They want something. So right now, because the crypto prices are so down right now, that no one has the money, or no one's really thinks it's the best time to launch a project. So right now, if you launch anything, it makes pretty big news because people in the space are degenerate gamblers, and they need something to like put the money in. Like, I need some fix.
I will tell you this: when I saw the spike, I'm like, oh, he must have announced a pulse. Oh my god, what happened? Yeah, that's what I thought. That was my initial response, and then I'm like, nah, it's coming back down.
Let me tell you this: if Pulse Chain did get announced, like it's launching in less than a month, Hex would probably be at 18 cents.
It'll explode.
It would go to 18 cents. 18 cents minimum. Like just, I mean, like it would be like 6, 9, 11, 15. 18, 21, and then it'd come down to 18. We'd be at like within like 3 days, we would be at damn near 20 cents again. So pretty nice. Now here's what I think is really going on is possibly the God whale is more than likely trying to protect the price of Hex. So there's a big macro event that's happening on that the Federal Reserve is meeting in a few in a week, less than a week. They're meeting in a week to basically tell people that we're going to increase rates or maybe temporarily pause it.
Cool it off. Yeah.
I think they're going to keep increasing rates. They may not. So there's a gamble here. So the gamble here is okay, we have the midterms coming up next month. If they pause it, that's really good. That's at least it gives some protection for whatever. So what the Federal Reserve does is they always help out a little bit towards whatever political party's in control at the time. But they do this for both Republicans and Democrats. This is how they've kept kind of in the middle there. They're kind of like Switzerland. Of course, yeah. They're a little like Switzerland. So people are speculating right now that they're going to temporarily pause the increases, and that's going to put crypto in a temporary upswing.
Bull market, so
temporary.
Hit it while it's hot. Yeah.
And then come down. More than likely, they're probably going to keep increasing the rates because the inflation rate.
Funny how they're doing that just a week before the midterm elections,
right? I mean, who wrote? Because these guys are political. I mean, they're in the government, so they have to know when people are going to get their jobs, right? So, like, why the fuck would they put a meeting in?
Yeah. Hey guys, no better time than the present. Get the fuck out of here.
So more than likely, that's going to when that rate hike increase happens, it's going to keep putting more pressure on the market, and this will cause the prices of all cryptos to go down. So what's going to happen? Is we were at 3.1 cents. If that did happen, let's just say the news is bad, it probably would have driven Hex's price to like 2 cents. Because like you break that psychological level and we crash to 2 cents, and then we basically get even a further drop. So more than likely, I think what the God whale was doing was protecting the price of Hex. So when the bad news happens, we just come back down to 3 cents and we're back where we started, but we're not at 2 cents or 1 cent. So there's these like resistance levels where like if it breaks that level, it kind of free falls a little bit down, and then people get scared, and then people start selling into it, and then eventually some whale or some buyers start buying,
pump it back,
and then it'll hold it up. But it's better for Hex to be at 3.5 to 3.1 cents than it being at 2.5 to 1 to a penny and a half. And that's kind of what's going on. That's what I think is going on. Because in terms of like news events and stuff, I don't really see any big news events for Hex until like, if we're lucky, we get the movie in December.
First quarter.
But it's all the stuff's happening in first quarter.
I figured as much.
So that's why I think what's going on. But that's awesome. Now with Hedron, what's going on is that a lot of the there's people that are selling Hedron right now to buy Hex pump.
Yeah.
So here's what's going to happen.
Swap.
Here's what's going to happen. So Hedron has this huge event called the HSI auctions, which basically means they're going to sell. They're selling they're selling NFTs of Hex stakes on a auction sale for the first time ever.
Wow.
So, but in order to buy them, you need Hedron.
To get the stakes. To get the
stakes. So that's going to happen November 13th, which is a Sunday. So what's going to happen is the Hex pump is going to keep happening, and then it's going to cool off, because then Hex money, the Hex people who made profit on Hex are going to start dumping Hex to buy Hedron, and Hedron's going to pump. So basically what I'm telling you guys is Hex is going to pump for the rest of this month.
So the 13th then.
The 13th, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, there we go. So Hedron's going to pump later in the month. So I would suspect if things are so bearish on Hedron really won't start pumping until maybe like the 7th of November to the 9th of Wednesday the 9th basically of November. That's when they start pumping. And then it will pump pretty well, because it's such a small coin that whatever money the market could be dumping, and because of its huge, its macro event that's happening within its coin, it will just pump regardless of what the market's doing, because it's such a small market. This is the beauty of some of these smaller coins, but this is like the amount you have to know a lot about them, understand them, and like I've been in Hedron since the absolute beginning, and to know that this is how it's more or less going to perform, basically. Now just one FYI, if for some reason Alex from Hedron decides to like say, hey, because macro is kind of bad right now, we're going to delay the auction just for another month or a couple weeks, Hedron's going to do this. Of course. Because you take people's toys away, what's going to
right? Yeah, they'll put it in something else.
So the traders will get out. So there's long-term holders. So because the hodlers, when they buy, that increases the price. But since they're hodling, they're not selling the coins. Traders sometimes buy as well, and they sell their coins off, and that creates the volatility. Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
So I'll stay in Hex. Don't back out. Don't blow.
No, I think Hedron's Hedron's a great coin. And
I got Hedron too. So
yeah, you got Hedron.
You put me in Hedron.
Yeah, we got you Hedron. A good price too.
We did, didn't we? Yeah.
Hey man, you know what I mean? Shit.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with like sort of experimenting with some different stuff too.
And this is a really good.
That's why I asked you about sushi.
So no. So the reason I didn't get to the whole sushi thing, because it was like, I've learned over time that there's kind of like secret little like groups on Twitter and stuff like that, and I think they're pumping. A lot of these guys are pumping and dumping coins. Why are all these big Twitter accounts talking about a coin right now?
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Because they're trying to they probably bought positions, amp it, and then they exit stage left with some money and stuff. Yeah. They have to pump it up because they're not getting, because right now like everyone's a genius in a bull market.
Yeah.
It takes a real person to make money in a bear market. But I tell this to my students all the time, we can only give what there is in the market. If sometimes there's really no action for a while. Now it's like right now we're just trying to snipe lows, and we're building up capital. I mean, we got a lot of flack for this back in 2021. We were telling people, don't quit your day job. What do you mean? No, bro. What do you mean? Like, I'm gonna become a millionaire overnight in crypto? You can make tons of money, but don't quit your job.
Yeah.
Don't quit your job. Don't quit your day job. Like, because I had tons of people tell me they're going to quit school. They're going to do this. I'm going to go crypto full time. No, dude, don't do it. Keep your, and then now I'm getting messages.
Unless you want to be in the next Netflix documentary, don't do that.
So I had tons of people telling me, Miguel, thank you so much for like telling me to stay with my job, or like, no. And now if you don't like your job and you're trying to change it, I can try to give you some advice or entrepreneurial advice. I know how to do sales door to door. I mean, I'm surprised I don't have a crooked nose right now from all the doors that were slammed in my fucking face.
Yeah.
Door to door sales really suck. It sucks so bad, but you have to, but this is how you get
Cold approach, man. It's cold calls. Hey, we got, let's see.
Oh, some super chats.
Tom C says, why do haters call Hex a scam?
Okay. So,
other than the fact that Richard Hart is the most flamboyant man in crypto.
In crypto and stuff, without a doubt. Ching. Right. So, okay. So this is what happened. Okay. So Richard Hart back in the day was a Bitcoin maximalist. So he was back in the day. So he was buying Bitcoin at 50 cents. So he was mining Bitcoin on like a laptop like this. I would be able to mine you used to be able to mine Bitcoin on a regular. This is not a regular. This is a pretty decked out laptop, but you could mine full Bitcoin blocks and get 50 Bitcoin block rewards. So every 10 minutes in Bitcoin, they pay out a certain amount of Bitcoin to the miners. So there were so few people actually processing the transactions on Bitcoin that I could, within a day, I mean, if I was mining Bitcoin back in early 2011, 2010, I would more than likely get like 4 or 5 full block rewards. So I would earn 250 Bitcoin a day. Now, 250 Bitcoin, you're like, Jesus Christ, Miguel, that's so much money. Travis, can you show my screen for 1 second? So, okay. 250 Bitcoin. That's a shit ton of money, right? But in today's prices, that would be what is that? Jesus, $5.1 million a day. Back then, Bitcoin was 50 cents. So you're talking about you're making about, if you're lucky, you're making about $125 a day. Not as cool. It doesn't sound as cool. It's still that's pretty nice
back then, but
like it wasn't that type of money. So this is why we always say long term, like hodling over good coins that are gonna make it can really make you rich over time, right? It's not getting rich fast, it's getting rich for sure, right?
Yeah.
Now what was going on is he was a Bitcoin maximalist. He was out here evangelizing, helping out the space and stuff. And what happened is around 2015, 2016, discussions are starting to be made on Bitcoin about upgrading Bitcoin. And now I'll just give you guys kind of an FYI of what happened back in the day. Bitcoin didn't really upgrade. Since then, there was small taproot and stuff like that, but there really wasn't really anything to make it more transactions. So Richard allied himself with a lot of the guys of about what they wanted to do. As an example, let's just to make it really simple, a Bitcoin block. Let's just say it's a gigabyte. Okay, that's not correct. It's way smaller than that. But just as an example, right? They wanted to increase it to a terabyte. And what'll happen is when you're a Bitcoin miner, you actually have to download the entire transaction history of Bitcoin. So by increasing the amount of space you need per block, so if they increase it to a terabyte, it will substantially make it harder for your systems to be able to actually have all those transactions. So it makes it a little bit harder for Bitcoin miners as well as and then it causes more computational, like it will increase that side of it, but it will allow more transactions to happen per block. So he was basically saying, let's just double it let's just base it off of computing power. So if the computer chips double every 2 years, let's double it every 3 years or something like that. And which I think was actually a smart idea. You could just keep increasing the block size. And anyway, now Bitcoin miners are industrial. It's industrial now. It's like mom and pop. There's barely any mom and pops anymore. I mean, you'd have to be a mom and pop with millions of dollars to start up now and free electricity. Or you're grifting it from like the school system or something. It's something like that, right? So everyone ganged up, and the Bitcoin maximalists who said, no, we will not deviate from the word of Allah, which is Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi Nakamoto said it's this way, it will stay this way, and basically the Islamic radicalists won in Bitcoin, and these people were all ejected, and what happened is they remembered Richard. So I was in Bitcoin. I was in Hex from the beginning. We called it Bitcoin Hex in the beginning, and then eventually we just turned it into Hex, right? And before that, no one was really talking about Hex. No one was talking about Richard really. And then the moment he launched it, someone essentially spam attacked us and made all these articles and basically attacked Richard from being basically a rip-off artist and a scammer. So what happened is when Hex launched, everyone was looking into Hex, and then all you could see that pop up was basically Bitcoin, I mean, Hex is a scam. He's a scammer. He's a bullshit artist. Do you know back in 2000, was it? I think 2002, maybe 2001. He was sued for spamming people. You see, he's a scammer.
Right.
Anything
they can find.
He was sued for $500.
Small claim score.
Small claims, and he basically had a flight to Washington.
But it's true, isn't it? Yeah.
He had a flight at small claims court in Washington. He lived in Florida. So would you fly? I mean, like, it's super annoying. I mean, maybe out of principle, but can you imagine? So you have to fly to fucking Washington. You have to spend probably $300 to get to Washington back in the day in terms of how much it costs on a plane. Then you have to go into lawsuit. You have to pay for a fucking lawyer. Then once you win the case, because it's going to get thrown out, then you have to fly. Then thank you so much. Then you got to fly your ass out, probably rent a hotel room, then fly out. Just the cost alone would have been like 4 or 5 times more than the actual lawsuit itself to win him. So he just said, all right, pay the $500 and just let it go. It's stupid. Now, that's what happened. Now, a lot of Bitcoin masters didn't like that because he was known for Bitcoin. So these guys were like, hey, you betrayed us. You were one of us. Now you're making your own coin. How dare you? And then, and then that's what happened. And that's really the beginning of it. Now, in terms of why Hex people, that's one of the big reasons why they call it a scam and why there's like this stigma against it, right? Now, the other part is people want to know, like, how much coins do you hold? He doesn't talk about what coins he holds. So he gets mad. So it's like, he's going to rug it one day. He's going to run away with all his money, right? Right. Let's just say this, all right? Let's just say he rugged it. Let's just say we found out, like, Richard rugged it. The Hex community is one of the largest military communities in all of the entire. And I know this is dark. Yeah. This is fucking. And I love Richard, but let's just be for real. Like, I was one of the few people that was streaming on Hex that wasn't in the military. Every other person in Hex in the beginning was Army, Navy, Marine. Oh my God, the amount of Marines inside of Hex is insane. The amount of just, oh my God, special force. We had some special forces guy back in the day. Police officer. I mean,
it's not even so much that though. I mean, if you you look at him like putting together Pulse. On top of that, it's like, if he's going to rug Hex, why is he working on Pulse, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think probably a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's like got the cult of personality thing going, and he knows that, and he leans into that. And I get it because I get the same shit, right? Yeah. So it's like when people like say, "Oh, Roll's a cult leader." Yeah, yes, I am. You know, shit. You know, you at some point you just kind of have to say, you know, whatever, dude. You know, I'll. That what you want me to be? Okay, no problem.
Right.
You know, and I think that like from a personality standpoint, he is most definitely one of the most recognizable figures in crypto.
Of course he is. And then just to go off of that right there, right? So, all right, let's just say I thought he was the worst type of person, right? But he's logical and he likes money. All right? Let's just think. I'm gonna think the most Machiavellian sort of.
Like, can you think of any other crypto guy that is like sort of a cult leader, like a cult of personality besides Rich, okay, obviously is there any other guys like on other like shit coins or whatever like that are deified? Deified, yeah, like they're
deified, yes,
you're our leader, illustrious leader, you know.
So every other major coin besides Bitcoin, yes. Basically, yeah, they're all small religions in a way. The way tribes, religions, and stuff like that, right? So Vitalik Buterin, he walks around, he does his conference. They basically look at him as like, this man is so he's like a giga brain smart guy. That's why he's artistic, right? And and I like Vitalik, but that's how people like.
You make me think of MODOK. Somebody knows who MODOK, MODOK. It's like this. He's this big head and little arms and stuff like that. That's like the crypto cult leader that like my stereotypical. That's the image that comes to mind.
Every major token, for the most part, outside of a couple, all have figureheads and all have these leaders who are not like Richard is on the nth degree of flamboyant. He's super intelligent. I mean, and on top of that, he's really good at like he actually, one of the reasons why they don't like him is because he's so good at debates. He makes people look very stupid. I'm talking about very stupid. To the point where like it's almost damn near career ending. Like the amount of people that influencers like, let me tell you why Hex is a scam. He does interviews with them, and their channels fucking lose 50% of views overnight. Like they just crash and burn. So there's tons of people that want to talk, like there's big channels that don't talk shit about Hex anymore and don't talk shit about Richard because they want to end their entire YouTube career
by talking shit.
Because he will make you look
The Hex,
foolish.
Hex community, they are very invested, and I love them for it too. I mean, they seem very honest and very genuine about the whole thing too.
I mean, you met all of them.
I met every one of them. Yeah. People that I didn't know that I knew were Hexicans, right? I knew them from Fresh and Fit. I knew them from just people who are in my community. You want to talk about crossover, we were just saying before, people like, oh, what's this guy doing? Here's a red pill. He's crypto. I was like, no, well, at some point we cross the streams. Yeah. Because there's common ground between the two, and then it's when you took me to PulseCon, I wasn't even expecting to go to PulseCon when I came. I was here to do something completely else, and so we spent half a day at PulseCon, and I'm there, and you got Gary Woods is out there, and I'm meeting people. I met Marshall Davis Jones, and and RG3. I'm out there, and I'm like, wow, this is actually a really cool thing, and so it's a social event, but I did not realize how much crossover there was between my sphere and your sphere until I got to PulseCon, and I was like, damn, this works.
This really works. And it's because I would say partial part of it is probably because a lot of people who are into crypto are probably low-key libertarians a little bit as well, and are people that want to control over their life and kind of because the big part about crypto is you control your own keys, you control your own crypto. A lot about the red pill is basically I'm trying to I'm seeing the world how it is. Now I've got to act accordingly to how the real world. So there's a lot of the same sort of values. I mean, Cappy would get. I mean, I'm surprised Cappy. I'm really surprised Cappy. I think if Cappy was 10 years older.
Aaron Clare.
Yeah, Aaron
Not
Clare.
gay.
Yeah. I think Aaron Clare was 10 or 15 years older. Younger. I'm sorry, forgive me. Younger. He probably would have been in crypto. I really believe. I think he would have been more of a Bitcoin guy.
Are you trying to say he's old and can't understand things?
No. It's just he's set in.
Because that's what I'm saying.
But he's probably set in his ways. I really have a deep appreciation for him because I'm
older than Aaron. You know that, right?
Well, I'm not trying to. I'm saying stuck in his ways, but old a little bit. Rollo's elastic. Yes. But it's a lot. It's a lot of that.
Water,
stuff.
my friend.
Yeah. But the crypto space is about money, right? And the thing is we're what's going on me, this is back when me, NLD, Charlie, we all figured this all out basically a long time ago, was basically what men go into two modes basically in their life as they kind of mature and get higher up the rank. They're basically, all right, money, we're in money mode, we're trying to make a bunch of money, and then they turn it down, and then they go all into, I need to get pussy and girls, and they flip-flop most of their lives into focusing on girls,
one or the other. Yeah, it's tunnel vision. It's one extreme or the other. I know, I always tell these guys too, it's you have to, there's synergies between all three of those, and you have to it's not just, chase excellence, my friend. No, chase it all. Chase all of it at the same time, because you'll find that when you excel in one area, it will aid you in another area. And it will keep you much more well-rounded. It'll keep you won't become a mark. If you suddenly you make $1 million, or you're worth more money than God, and then you're I can't find a girlfriend. Because all you did was just isolate yourself into one of those realms. And
then that's one of the reasons why I kept up with the red pill, because I knew where I was going in my life, even though I wasn't there yet. I knew I was focusing on the money lane. That's what I was focusing on, and I was I don't want to become a mark as well. I don't want to be taken advantage of. And then whatever red pill, I was red pilled, but I wasn't the highest levels and stuff, especially back then. But I would go to these crypto conferences, and I would people would see oh wow, this guy's got his Asian Asian dude with his Asian girlfriend, right? And in my brain I was oh, this fucker is getting whipped. I would go to these conferences.
He's getting rolled, because the only reason she's with a guy like that, that choice is because he's got a.
But it was comical. I don't know why I didn't take this picture. I saw in a row 5 different types of relationships, 5 different relationships, different ethnicities, and so it was white and Asian, and I think one black guy, right, in relationship, and all of them carrying Chanel, Louis Vuitton. I'm talking about bags filled of high-end brands, while their little girlfriend's nothing in their hand, this right behind them, that. And that's not even that. And
oh my God!
this, I could not. My brain, when I was telling my girl this when I was with my girl there, when we were I cannot believe this right now. It was the most it's blowing my mind right now. Like I couldn't, but people thought that was like, oh, that guy's killing it. He's awesome. And so, because they're just looking at the financial side, and there's a mentality side to that as well. And then he's getting taken for a ride. And maybe these guys, and anyone who can get that much money in crypto, obviously is smart enough to know that they're also being used a little bit, but they're like, hey man, this money's getting me this girl, so I'm happy with it. Like,
well, I've always told guys this too. It's like, there's the guys who, like when I talk about transactional sex versus like validational sex, like the kind of sex that like women want to have versus the kind of sex that they have because there's an exchange of resources. There's an exchange of value that's going on right there. And so there's the, hot monkey sex, she wants to tear your clothes off kind of sex. And then there's a kind of like, oh, he's got a lot of money kind of sex. Like that's the, that's the difference between those two. And so I think a lot of guys get to a point where they're like, I'm okay with that. I'm all right. I got to pay for it. No problem. In no uncertain, and not, maybe not, maybe indirectly or as opposed to directly, but like, they're like, I'm okay with that. I don't care if she's a gold digger. I know she's a gold digger. I know that she's, as long as the performance and as long as she's a good actress, then I'm okay with that. And so I know dudes who are like that, but the problem is then those dudes like begin to believe that there's actually an emotional investment on the part of like, it goes from being like a sugar baby to being like, oh, she's my girlfriend. Oh, she's my wife. Yeah. It's like, because she must really, really love me. No, it's still the transactional side of things that you started out with, but you just gradually caught feelings, and now you want to believe that this is like you're really special to her, and it's really predicated on like what your performance is. And as long as you keep it up, that's fine. And then there's the guys who are just like, I know it's an act. I know she's a great actress, and I pay her to be a good actress.
Like I've been seeing a lot. I've been seeing this recently with because Andrew Tate really blew up and stuff and everything, where he has like these video clips of him saying like, you mean she loves me because I'm rich and handsome and good looking? I mean, like, I forgot what video clip it was, but basically there's like this clip going on around that where he's basically saying, so you're saying like, I'm vain because I love her for her looks or something. And then she loves me because I'm rich and handsome. Like of course, duh. Like, and then people are taking that as an excuse.
I know people gave me grief about this too. Cause it's like, it's funny. I used to get a lot of pushback when I used to say this, but like men and women have different concepts of love, right? This is like something I wrote about like as far back, like even before I had a book, like, and then it ended up in my first book. Yeah. But it's men and women have different concepts of. This was
so dark to me.
It was, but now it's not so much.
But it felt like, at the time.
At the time, you want to know why people. Wow. Again, let's get back to the red pill rage kind of thing. This was very rage inspiring. Is the fact that like the old set of books makes you believe that love should, like guys are very idealistic when it comes. That's their concept of love is idealism, and guys will fight. It's funny. I get more pushback from guys now than I do from girls, because when I say that women's concept of love is opportunistic, like it used to be like women didn't want me to give up the game. Like, well, we're not all prostitutes, we're not all gold diggers, and like that was 2008 when I wrote that, and then it ended up in the book in 2013. And man, like I can remember being on Pat Campbell's show and like having it out with this producer.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. But I can remember still like talking about like sex is the glue that keeps a relationship together, kind of thing. Having those kinds of conversations, I'm like, well, men also have a burden of performance. And now that is way more because of Andrew Tate and because of this, like, hey, be on your game, hustle, that kind of stuff. That's because, I can even go and look at like the work of like Dr. David Buss, or you can look at some of these other like evolutionary psychologists who are really focusing on status, which I think is a mistake, but that's all they almost exclusively focus on. And that locks in with the sort of success mindset that's being sort of passed around every sphere, your sphere, my sphere, everywhere right now. And so I don't see as much pushback on if I say women love opportunistically, women are like, yeah, we do. And so what's wrong with that? Like it's like a point of pride at this point. Right. But there was a point in time way back in like 2008 when I first proposed that women lost their minds. And so, but who still loses their minds is guys. When I say men have an idealistic perspective when it comes to, or concept when it comes to love, because men want to believe that women will love them not unconditionally, but that they can love them in the way that they believe that women should be able to love them, which is not opportunistically. It's like love should matter for the sake of love, right? And they're not like, absolutely no one has ever said, oh, well, I believe in unconditional love. I don't think anybody does. But so when I say idealistically, I think it's like it's this want for a love that is like sort of this investment in the guy because she has a natural, innate, validational desire for that guy. It's kind of like Ryan Gosling and Eva Mendes. Like, I want to have his babies. That's the sort of the idealism that like a lot of guys think. That's, if I could just get the girl who has this genuine desire for me, rather than this negotiated desire, which is I gotta perform and pay money for her to actually give me desire. Right. It's not necessarily the conditions. It's the idea of like, this woman should love me in the way that I would as idealistically should want to. So it's not about conditions. It's about, this is the way that I'll be the man and I'll still, okay, that's fine. There's still conditions to that. But it's all about idealism as opposed to opportunism, because women will not invest in a guy or emotionally invest in a guy who does not meet some criteria on that bullet point checklist, and that therefore women's won't make that emotional investment if those criteria aren't met. But also it's also conditional for women, and they'll say so, but it's also opportunistic. So if one guy meets more of those criteria than the other guy, that's the dude that they're going to go for, right? It's simple economics. We talked about this. I talked about this with Jason Hartman on my show last Friday about the economics of like the global sexual marketplace and everything else. And the global sexual marketplace is an economy.
Yes.
And so you have to think of it in those terms, and that's where people lose their shit, because they want, what about love? What about emotion? What about investment? What about God? It's like that. I mean, we can talk about that. That's fine. That's the emotionalist side of it, of the whole thing. But the sexual marketplace is an economy. Yes. And the sooner you understand that there are gender differences between how men and women approach love, and by the way, how men and women approach respect, because men view respect as like a meritocracy, whereas like women see respect as like, well, we should respect everybody and we should just like, it's common courtesy and stuff like that. There's two different, definitions for respect. If you can wrap your head around those things, you'll have a much easier time when you're trying to, master money muscles and games.
Right.
We're coming up on time.
We're coming on time, but let me just say a couple things in terms of, I totally agree, and it's also not time to insert Tate here for views. But one thing that he really did that was really awesome was he really exposed that Instagram's the biggest dating app in the world, and I think everyone's been saying that for a minute. But like about like that small town girl that you would think you would find in these weird, like these poor countries, have just been exported to the bigger cities and stuff, and now the whole game's been messed up a little bit.
Can I give you a Jason Hartmanism?
Sure.
This is why I got to give him his flowers. This is why Jason is an absolute genius. We had him on Rule Zero, not last week, the week before, and it was and Aaron Cappy was actually the host. And at one point in the conversation, I'm so glad we brought him in for this too. At one point during the conversation, Jason said that Instagram is a funnel marketing, basically is funnel marketing for women. And I'm like, I stopped in my tracks. I'm like, holy shit, he's right. Instagram is basically funnel marketing for women. And the reason why I said that is because like I use this as an example. Somebody send this to me again, because I've seen multiple illustrations of this, but the guy sent me these comparisons of like soccer players, like star soccer players, like Ronaldo was one of them, and some other guys. He was the only name that I recognize, but these are like really, worldwide, everybody's going to recognize
Everyone
them.
knows the names.
And so it's like on the soccer players, Instagram, it's a picture of him with this girl on the beach somewhere. They're on vacation, and the girl's just perfect piece of ass, right? Yeah. Who probably is a supermodel that I should know the name of too, but I don't. She's got an Italian last name, so I don't.
Has more money than him.
Exactly. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Right. So it was like 3 or 4 of these guys, and on their Instagram, it's the dude and his chick, and Ronaldo and whoever he's banging, and like that kind of stuff. And then you go and you look at the girl's Instagram. It is just the girl on the beach in the same bikini she's wearing in Ronaldo's, Instagram shot. Same one. He's nowhere to be found. And these are like top apex alpha male guys who make a lot of money. They're soccer players, world renowned. They can get whoever the hell they want, and still There's still funnel marketing just in case she breaks up with Ronaldo or she breaks up with whoever, right? And I'm like, Jason Hartman is a friggin' genius because he picked that out, and I was like, you're right, because when they just came at the right time. I was like,
Sartain put me onto that.
You are 100% right.
Sartain, I gotta get Sartain too. He's like a genius for Instagram as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Just some of the things I've been, just from the couple interactions we've had and stuff, just asking him questions and hearing his content and stuff. I'm like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm so happy you guys are doing the Access Vegas show. When is that? Is it on Friday?
That's going to be on Friday, and it will be, at 10 p.m. Pacific time, 1 a.m. Eastern time. And we do that primarily because, this is going to be the Halloween show.
Ooh,
so
okay.
I don't know. I don't know if the girls will come in costume, but they
came dressed up for the party.
They definitely came in costume last. And by the way, it's not just, we're not having just jet screaming hootie queens on this one. We have one girl is actually a marriage counselor as well. And I forget who the other one. I want to get Jamie Villamore, but I don't know if she's available because I really wanted to sort of get her engaged a little bit more than we did last time.
Right.
But we've got it's not Jamie Lynn. Maybe it is Jamie Lynn. Anyways, we've got a really good, people kept saying, oh, these are just like big tip, hootie queens. And I'm like, okay, we're going to definitely, we're going to break your archetype with these girls. So
super smart girls. Mm-hmm. Well, you guys, we're kind of running out on time now, but where can people follow you, Rollo?
You can find me at therationalmale.com. That's my blog. I am presently working on a series of essays, one of which is with Ryan Stone. I'm going to actually be doing a collab with Ryan. I might just have him on my podcast, which my personal podcast is on Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern every Sunday. And I almost got up to 4.5 hours the last time. I
noticed that.
But that was a special. In my defense, that was a special occasion because I was going in on Hafiz and Pearly things and that whole breakdown. I am primarily a Manispherian, I guess. I'm the godfather of the red pill. I have 5 books, the Rational Male series of books. If you're not familiar with them, I don't know why you wouldn't be, because if you follow you probably follow me. Mm-hmm. But you can find all 5 of them on Amazon.com. Just type in the Rational Male. You'll find all 5 of them. And everybody asks me, which one should I start with? Always start with the first one. And then after that, there's no particular order. Depends on what you're into, and you can get the descriptions of all the books on Amazon. And yes, by the way, they are all on Audible as well, so you can go pick them up there.
Thank you so much, man. Mm-hmm. My favorite book's the second book. I love that one. Mm-hmm. I love that book. I always tell them to read the first, but that second book's amazing.
Oh, and yes, I am working on a 6th book, but it is not for the series. It's like the Rational Male series is done. Yeah. I am working on a book of, I'm just calling it Maxims right now. I'm just sort of like common explanations, because my thing lately is with all these people coming into the sphere, like into the manosphere, because it's just easy pickings right now. It's low hanging fruit. A lot of people kind of butcher the common maxims, and they butcher the common concepts. So I felt like it would be beneficial for everyone if there was like sort of this comprehensive book of like maxims that we have been using really for 20 years now. So that's on deck.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So all the links to Rollo's books are in the description box below and stuff like that. I just put it in the chat right now. My next stream will be tomorrow I think I'm doing it at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and stuff. I'm doing an AMA. I'm gonna do it from the old-fashioned office tomorrow. There we go. It's gonna be an old school. The Pepe clock's in the corner. Mm-hmm. And after that, on Friday, I will be having a stream with Maddie Allen from the Hex community. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
I should also mention, I will be speaking at the Men of Action meetup. I think if you want to get in on that, just go to, I think it's just Mike Sartain's MOA. Yeah. So look up Mike on Instagram. I don't know what the actual link is for that, but if you're interested, I'm in Vegas until Saturday, but I will be doing that from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Friday. And then, of course, we're doing Access Vegas at 10.
Exactly, you guys. So catch you guys later, man.
Peace. Thank you for coming.